Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show.
What the flip is going on? Wow. Okay, I walked into the studio. Nate, you were already here. Walked in. It's kind of sad. I was moping around like this because the Bengals had just scored.
Yeah.
And Bo had thrown a late game interception. And I was kind of feeling like, all hope is lost here. And then, boom!
Hope is never lost when you have Bo Nix
Do you believe?
under center.
Listen, I was actually.
Marvin Mims, though, goes up high.
I was going to say, we got to get some credit.
Snacks it. He snacks it.
Gobbled it up.
Like
yeah.
Randy Moss up there, but he's 5'10". He's not a big receiver. Those little receivers rarely go up over guys like he did there. I thought they were maybe going to overturn that just because
worried.
The ball seemed to be moving a little bit as he was getting down there, but thankfully they came back quick and it was a catch. What a catch.
What a catch.
Going into overtime.
What grip strength.
Yeah.
I mean, Marvin Mims has had a great game altogether. I think he had a 51-yard touchdown earlier in the game. So Marvin Mims is definitely showing up and showing out today. Obviously, overtime is now starting. Broncos with a late game touchdown. Very clutch. I would say I was going to come in here and talk a little bit about Bo Nix maybe not being as clutch as we had seen him be as these late season games have gone on. Obviously, the Chargers game, we felt like they were playing with their food there in the second half. They were effing around and they found out. How's that? And then in this game, they effed around and found out, unfortunately, in that one. But then in this game, really actually overall a really good game by Bo. But of course, that late game interception kind of sucked the momentum, I think, even as fans.
And it came on 3rd and 15.
Yeah.
You're not expecting to pick that up. You got to understand the situation, but he's 22 or 27 right now. Pretty darn good.
He's having a good game.
And the Bengals are possessing the football right now. And God, Giuseppe irritates me. I don't know why.
Is it the last name?
Man, he always just does stupid stuff and he thinks he's cool. Like a 7-yard gain, he's doing that, and tries to do the gritty and all that. He's just a douchebag, in my opinion. And his name is Giuseppe.
Well, that's actually not how you pronounce it, but
Giuseppe?
I'm pretty sure it's Giuseppe.
No, it's Giuseppe.
Well, that's how Nate pronounces it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's how he pronounces it as well. But either way, Nate does not like this guy. He did just get a first down for the Bengals. I will say, watching this Bengals team, who is 7-8, their 7-8 record does not equally match the offensive firepower that they have on this field. Joe Burrow having an MVP season. We were hoping for a little. You know what? What do you want to bet they call a horse collar right there?
Joe Burrow scrambles out of the pocket. He's
yeah, I mean, sorry about that, but got a little excited there.
So you mentioned this offense.
Yeah.
Props to this Broncos defense for doing what they've done today. I mean, holding this team to 24 points in regulation. There's an illegal contact play, though, and so we don't like that.
Not great.
Who's that on?
Pretty sure.
It's not Damari Mathis. So the corners have had a tough game today, guys. The corners, I mean, Riley Moss coming back doesn't look like himself.
Yeah,
Jaquan McMillian with a huge penalty on a sack by Zack Allen that negated that sack and allowed the Bengals to keep that drive going and score. And then now this one right here. So touchdown wins the game.
We don't want that.
We don't.
Get him.
See, Riley. All right. By hook or by crook, Riley Moss gets him down.
Which is good. But yeah, I think it's very, very impressive. My point in bringing up this offense being so electric, this Bengals offense, is the Broncos defense was able to hold them to only 10 points in the first half, which is wildly impressive given the firepower on this team. Jamar Chase, we know, having an MVP level season. Joe Burrow as well, having an MVP level season. So there is a lot to be excited about if you're a Bengals fan watching this offense. Now, of course, being a 7-8 team, this game means a lot more to the Bengals and the Broncos both.
Yes.
But yes, there's a sack.
Another sack for Zack Allen.
Sack that quarterback, defense, attack. Right. We forgot our pom-poms at home. We'll have those next week. Don't worry. But
if the Broncos win, I'm gonna drink a beer.
Well, duh.
I'm gonna chug a beer. I'm gonna chug a beer.
Do we have vodka in the house? I think we need to take a shot.
Is
To
that
be honest,
Russian
do
style?
they have vodka
They
here?
do that.
No, that this Broncos defense. I mean, we have been knowing all
3rd and
season long
14.
how great this Broncos defense is, but to be able to see them slow down the firepower on this offense for the
after 'em.
Bengals has been exceptional.
Get after him. Get after him.
Come on,
Get him. Yes. Big punch.
You know who else has been to me having a pretty good game is not Cooper.
Yeah, Jonathan Cooper. Yeah.
Jonathan Cooper has had an exceptional game defensively. I feel like he's had a lot of momentum, like big plays in this game, timely big plays by Cooper in this one.
Wow.
So our Broncos defense, we know, have been phenomenal all season long, but to be able to slow down this Bengals offense when this game means just as much to the Bengals as it does to the Broncos, just shows how much of a championship level defense this is, in my opinion, with the Broncos. So pretty exceptional work by this defense. And then let's talk a little bit about the offense. Obviously, kind of feels like the star of the show right now in this moment is Marvin Mims. And in so many different ways, he had that 51-yard touchdown, and then that grab was just
2 touchdowns
exceptional. Exceptional. But what other things have you noticed in the offense that are positive for this Broncos team?
Jaleel McLaughlin, he's averaging 7.6 yards a carry today, 9 carries for 68 yards. He's the lead back on this team. You never know who the lead back is going to be.
Changes every day.
But Jaleel, who was out last week, is back. He's healthy enough, and obviously coach feels good enough about him running between the tackles, not just a gadget play guy now, but a guy who can take the lion's share of the carries. He has 10 carries for 69 yards, 13-yard long here, and he's in the backfield right now. Going to get that first carry. Not much doing there, but I would say, the running game, they clearly committed to it a little bit more today.
They did.
And the passing game has been pretty efficient. I would say this, though, the Cincinnati Bengals are out-possessing the Broncos, or did in the regulation, by over 15 minutes. This game was dominated, at least time of possession-wise, by the Bengals. But that doesn't really matter. What matters is who wins at the end of it. And the Broncos somehow have found themselves in the mix here when it looked like all was lost in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
So credit to Sean Payton for managing the end of that game there. The challenge that got turned over, that was huge. That
was big. That was the fumble recovery, right?
Yeah. The clock management, cat and mouse game that was played right at the end of regulation when the Bengals were trying to run the clock out. They got to the 1-yard line. They injured their running back in the process. So Chase Brown was not in that last series because he hurt his ankle trying to go down at the 1-yard line.
I saw that.
Okay, and then they scored on the next play. So the Broncos were able to keep their timeout. And then in Bo's last drive, there was some mismanagement at the end. Lucas Kroll caught that ball, 3-yard gain, gets tackled in bounds. They lose like 30
didn't
seconds.
go out of bounds. Yeah.
So I don't think any of us watching thought it was going to end the way it did. Credit to these guys for making a magical moment.
Nobody in the studio thought it was ending that way because we went ballistic.
Well, ballistic. Seeing Bo roll right and throw that up, you didn't really think there was. There it is. Oh, you
son of a gun!
All right, down the sideline for Troy Franklin. There, he was open, wide open.
I will say, I don't want to use.
And that's gonna have to punt it.
I don't want to have to use the word disappointment because that's a very heavy word. I have been underwhelmed with Bo Nix and Troy Franklin as a combination
it hasn't
this season.
Been there.
And you know what? Which is fine because I think Bo Nix has found other ways. He's found Sutton. He's found Mims. He's found other ways. Vele even has had some great connections with Bo Nix throughout the season. But I expected more from Troy Franklin, to be completely honest with you. That was like the one thing that I felt like they had.
This is not good. Giving them the ball at the 47-yard line there. Great field position for the Bengals.
Yeah.
I agree. Troy Franklin, the connection hasn't been there
at
especially
all.
The deep ball. But that was on Bo right there. That was not on Troy.
No, and that's what I'm saying. I don't want to call him like Franklin himself a disappointment, but it just seems Bo and Troy Franklin have not been able to connect the way I anticipated they would. So I've been underwhelmed by that 1-2 punch between Bo Nix and Troy Franklin. I think I expected it to be a little bit stronger, and it hasn't been. So that would be one of the things I've noticed in this long season is that Troy Franklin just hasn't been a reliable go-to, not by his own fault. I just think Bo is also having a hard time finding Troy Franklin and making those connections. So
all right. So this is
not good.
Next score wins. Okay. So
even if it's a field goal.
Even if it's a field goal now. Both teams have possessed the ball. Now whoever scores wins. So the Bengals are about, 15 yards outside of field goal range here. And the Broncos defensive line is going to have to come out with another big play. Zack Allen, 3.5 sacks today, guys. 3.5 sacks for Zack Allen, making his case for Defensive Player of the Year now.
Yep.
But it ain't going to matter if the Bengals go down and score right here. So, VJ's got to dial something up.
Has to.
And he's got dialed up a blitz here.
We got to do a sack right here.
But all these quick passing game, stuff is going to –
Well,
now they're in field. And there's Jizeki again. Oh, look at me. I'm Jizeki.
oh, yeah, he is a bit annoying, isn't
He's
he?
a dork.
He is a dork. He's giving dork energy for sure.
BDE.
Big dork energy. Yeah, I don't think I've paid attention enough to him to like pick up on his mannerisms, but since you clocked it, now I'm like, oh, he is kind of annoying, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He was traded in the middle of the season from the Dolphins. He's a big, tall guy, a really good target for your quick pass game stuff that the Bengals are doing, and they're just so good at it. Joe Burrow today 35 of 44 lived.
Yep.
343 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's been sacked 7 times, though. Great for the Broncos. But look, we always talk about committing to the run. These guys didn't commit to the run. I mean, I guess they gave Chase Brown 20 carries, but for the most part, they're 2-to-1 pass versus run. But their short, quick pass game is like a run because they're getting off coverage sometimes, and they're just throwing these dinky donkeys, and they're so good at it that it's successful.
Very successful dinky donkeys.
That's what we need right
That's
there.
what we needed right there. Hey-o!
False start on T. Higgins.
Yeah, T, you can't do that. That's all I have to say about that one. So does that pull them out of field goal range?
Yeah, I would say so.
I would say so.
That makes it about a 60-yarder. And the danger here
Get
in
a sack.
overtime.
Big sack would be big time.
Well, the danger in trying to kick a 60-yarder in overtime is if you miss it, you get the ball right there at midfield, the opposite team. And then you got to get 10 yards and you're in range. But it's 1st and 15.
I wish the strength was a bit stronger. It's just water.
Oh, see, they go right back to the guy and now they're in there like swimwear. And that's a tough one. So the Broncos need a turnover now.
Huge.
Or a blocked kick.
We need that violent defense we were talking about on yesterday.
And Brandon
Yesterday's
Jones
show.
saw that there. He almost jumped it. He was just a little late. Look at him. Oh, he should have blown him up, though, man.
Blow him up.
They're all afraid to get flagged for a big hit. But you got to dislodge the ball. Yeah. Oh, no. See, now Broncos defense is getting tired.
Very.
They've been on the field a lot today.
Yep.
78 plays the Bengals have had today. 78 plays to the Broncos 57 on their offense. So, again, I was talking about the time of possession. Over, 13, 14 minutes more possession for the Bengals here. They've just been much more efficient offensively. And the Broncos are going to let another one slip through their fingers here.
Gosh, and I think it's almost worse to come so close and then fall short than it is to just get smacked.
Yeah.
It would hurt a little less if we just got smacked up in this one, but these games hurt.
And it's because of the mess, what you're building your guys up for. This is a playoff type of game. This is how you're coaching your guys. We got to go in and win.
Find a way.
Yes, this is all that matters. This game against the playoff-ready opponent that believes they should be in the playoffs and is fighting for their opportunity to do so. Then you got to go in and plant your flag and prove to the world that you're a playoff team. And I don't know if the Broncos have done that tonight. I don't think they have, but they're still going to probably find a way to get into the playoffs. They might just back their way in. Now we got to find a way to beat the Chiefs next week.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't want the reason that the Broncos make the playoffs to be because we beat a Chiefs team that didn't start their starters. This team is capable of much more. I will take it too as well. But I think the only thing that's frustrating about these last 2 games that we've watched them play is against the Chargers. That was their game to win.
Yeah.
And they just absolutely pooped here we go. 33-yard. I mean, they make these in their sleep. So
Cade York is going to miss it. Why aren't you guys rushing the kick?
Doink!
Yeah! Yeah, you loser! Go, Bo.
Doink!
Go,
Doink,
Bo.
doink, doink! Doink!
Freaking
York the dork with the doinky. Woo! Yeah! Woo! I mean, wow.
How he just pulled that thing. What a
What a
loser.
York dork doinker.
Ray Finkel.
I mean, serious. Get him a new
Laces
shirt.
out. Oh,
Cade Dork.
wow.
Wow. Woo!
Oh, Zach Taylor, you sad.
York dork. Cade York, the dork
York the
with a
dork,
doink.
yeah.
I mean,
Oh, nice mustache, dork. Wow.
okay. In
All right,
all
well, they
fairness-
only got 2 minutes and 43 seconds. This might be a freaking tie, which you do not want.
But
And
didn't they say that we had to win or tie our last two?
Yeah, I guess you're in it with a tie.
Like
Yeah.
we are in. So I
Yeah.
mean, again, if
Yeah.
it's got to be a tie, it's got to be a
Yeah,
tie. I don't want that. I'd love a
guess you're
win.
right. I guess a tie gets us in
But
here.
a tie does get us in. So
Wow, some good fortune.
no turnovers here. Let's not have any of those bad boys.
All we got to do is get a first
Oh,
down.
I've never been more in love with York the dork.
Wow.
Wow. Love you, Yorkie dorky.
Wow.
Love you. Wow. A doink fest. 33-yard doink.
You
and he's got the backwards hat on. Cut it out.
And he's practicing like he's going to get another shot to redeem himself. Dork, you missed it. It's over.
Let it go, dork. Let it go, Cade the dork.
Wow.
That was
Oh, McPherson. One dork to another.
he passed the
He's
dork
like, what
torch.
happened?
He passed the dork torch. That's
You
crazy.
can take it.
My turn. My turn.
Oh, that was,
Oh, that was a doink.
that's from 33 yards, too. That's not a difficult kick. There he is, the previous dork.
They had a dork off.
Yeah.
And Cade Dork won. Wow. Okay. Wow. You know what?
I'm saying, why not just run the football, though, and get some clout?
Ouch.
Because if it's all you need is a tie here, then all we need to do is see now Cincinnati's calling timeouts to get the ball back. Because they need a win.
Yeah, they need a win, but we could have a tie, but they can't.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, so am I. I'm surprised they threw the ball. But I guess this like short, like we were just talking about. The short pass game, these quarterbacks are so good at it. It takes the place of
Yeah.
a run. And these coaches like to do that stuff. But I would say run the freaking ball, give it to Audric Estime, and let him, boom, 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 up the middle and eat that clock. So what do you do now? Do you go for the first down and throw the ball? No, you got to, man. You got to keep this ball. You got to find a way to get this first down.
This is feeling sick and twisted.
Because the worst thing would be to have to punt it, let him go down and kick it again. You don't want to give York a chance for
No
redemption.
chance for York. Yeah, because now he's fired up. He had the backwards hat on. He's
Yeah.
fired up.
He's going to go shave his mustache real quick. Get there, Bo. Bo, what the fuck was that, man?
Oh, jeepers.
See, that was just a sloppy throw. But you also got a tight end there. No, not bad-mouthing Adam Troutman there, but he's not necessarily the most agile catch radius guy who's
Son
going
of
to
a
be able to
biscuit.
lean out and get that. He's a little stiff in the hips. His
Stiff
body's a
in the
little
hips.
stiff. No, that just was a bad throw. That's not Adam
Very.
Troutman's fault.
Again, who is he looking for? He just cannot find Troy Franklin to save his
Was he
flipping life.
throwing for Troy?
That's
Troy
who it was, yeah.
Or Adam Troutman.
Well, it looked like Franklin to me.
This is over 2 minutes left for these guys. They're going to have good field position again, and that's not a good punt. Oh, my God. So you just give them the ball right back. This is bad.
This is never going to end. We're just
No.
going to be sitting here pulling our hair out. Oh, God. I hate hearing that. Here comes Joe Burrow. Hate that. Really do. I'm trying to read some of these comments.
Yeah. Hey, Carrie, you want to throw any of these
A lot of people thinking it's going to be a tie,
comments up there?
which would be fine for the Broncos, not fine for the Bengals. The Bengals don't want a tie. The Broncos would be okay with a tie. But the Bengals need a win in this game.
Yeah.
So now they're out for blood. Just take the tie.
tie, says Fernando. Too late for that.
Fernando, we just dropped the ball. We're
Couldn't
past
pick up
that
the
now.
first down.
Sean Payton is so sloppy during the end of quarters. Why are we throwing the ball?
Ah! Yeah, bang your chest, dork. Sean Payton sloppy, yeah. I don't know, man.
Said, bang your chest, dork. I mean, it sounds like, according to Nate, the Bengals team is full of, they may be athletic, but they are a bunch of dorks.
Yeah.
Just padded, helmet-wearing dorks. If the Broncos tie, will the Broncos get in and the Bengals eliminated? Yes, I believe that is the situation we're facing here.
Yeah.
So the Bengals need to win this game, but the Broncos either need to win or tie this game or the Chiefs game. So the Broncos would be okay with a tie. The Bengals would not.
And here's like the danger. I mean, Broncos are now in this danger zone where they're tempting fate. They had these lucky things go their way, right? They had the very end of regulation where they were able to get the ball back and find a way to go down and score on a miraculous touchdown. Then they have a really bad possession in overtime and allow the Bengals to put themselves in position to win the game and then doink a 33-yarder. And then you get the ball back and you go 3 and out and have to punt it, and it's a bad punt, and you give this team another opportunity. This team is not just any team, by the way. You're not playing the Browns or whatever. You're playing the hottest offense in the league right now. I mean, this is a team that scored.
Jamar Chase is wide receiver 1 across the NFL right now.
And
It's
Joe
not
Burrow
even close.
is quarterback 1, and they got a sack artist who's the leading sacker in the league. So this is a team that is potent and dangerous, and you let them hang around. They stayed in the game.
You gave them too many opportunities.
Yeah, you let them hang around.
Stay
too many
alive.
opportunities.
Yeah, not good.
Yeah. Someone saying horrible play calling there. At the very end, I agree. I should have went run.
Which,
setting up a third and
if
fourth.
Sean has an ego, which we know he does, and he has commitment issues to the run game, and he wants to be that pass happy guy, wouldn't you get the biggest ego boost by being a
game? Well, no, not with Dork at the helm, but this is unfortunate. This one's gonna sting.
They've all Chiefs,
it.
Chargers, Bengals, all of these games have been winnable for this Broncos team, and it's come down to foolish little decisions or bad play calling or there's York the dork. He's ready to go. He's fired up. He's juiced up. You can see it.
Mustache rides for everybody. That's what he's saying. Yep.
You gotta get
come
a
after
sack.
him. Pick. Aye!
A pick would have been huge right there.
Yeah.
A pick would have been huge right there.
Pat Surtain seems to be limping.
He's limping. He's limping for sure.
Certainly is.
He certainly is limping. Wow. This is not good. This is just not good at all. Oh, York the dork. I'm so irritated.
Well, maybe he's knows he's about to miss this one too, because kickers are very fragile mentally. If
he's calling them soft.
Oh, look, he can barely run. PS2. Man.
That's not good for us, is it?
He's got to tuck his undershirt in too.
Okay, Karen. Okay, Karen, uniform guy.
Oh, nope. Oh, God. Right on Riley there.
It was out of bounds?
No, that's a catch. I don't know if he was in. Did that right foot go in? Let's take a look at that. That's close. Yeah, it is going to be reviewed because the right toe might have been off the turf when the ball was secured.
It's all like those commentators are Team Bengals, huh?
Yeah, I may just be Team Broncos right now.
I think you should be. That makes a lot of sense. Someone said Riley cost us this game.
I don't want to put it on Riley, but he's not well. He's not ready yet.
Okay, can we also talk about the fact that he may or may not have played this whole game with a concussion?
Riley?
Yeah, did you not see early in the game? He got
yeah.
cracked in the head, and they were, and the commentators were like, "I'd maybe keep your eyes out on him." And he kind of did look a little jaded the rest of the game.
Yeah.
So I would not be shocked if we end up finding out. Oh, he had a little head trauma going on there.
What's a little concussion?
It's football.
Right?
It's football.
Everyone expects it.
Oh, this is not feeling good. We need a fumble or something.
Yeah.
A fumble recovery would be huge, or an interception for that matter.
They're still just throwing the ball, man. T. Higgins touchdown on Riley again. Game over. And Riley can barely walk.
Yeah,
And PS2 can't walk either.
Yeah, this was not Riley Moss's best game. I can tell you that right now.
And T. Higgins is just saying he can't fuck with me, man. He can't fuck with me, man. And he's right in this case. He can't fuck with
He
you, man.
can't. Yeah.
Not right now.
T. Higgins does seem like a pretty swaggy individual.
Some folks are advocating for him to come here and be a Bronco.
Horrible play calling. Riley cost us this game. It was not Riley's best performance. I don't want to put all the blame on one guy, but it was not Riley's best performance. Oh, shut up, Joe. Just shut your pie hole.
They drive off in his Batmobile. You know he has a Batmobile?
What?
He bought a Batmobile.
Oh, frick off, Joe.
Oh, right.
Quick little update, score update for you. BYU up 7-0 on the Colorado Buffaloes as they play in San Antonio at the Alamo Bowl.
Let's get that switched over, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got we'll be giving you guys updates there and talking a little bit about all things CU Buffs while we debrief on all things Broncos, which is an L that they actually needed to be a W. They are now in a position where if they do not win or tie their game against the Chiefs next week, they will not make the playoffs, which...
Well, there's still some... They still could back in. If the Dolphins...
How about this? How about they just take care...
the Bengals lose.
How about they just take care of their own business?
No, I'm with you on that.
Because they should have done this already.
Because
they played with their food. They effed around and found out against the Chargers. And then this was a winnable game.
Yeah. No, I agree with you 100%.
This is a winnable game.
It would not feel good to lose your last three and then make it...
Is that Higgins? No, that's not Higgins.
And then make it into Sean Payton.
Yeah. I was like,
Look, relative to our team.
Yeah, we have a lot of potential.
Space.
A lot of potential.
Listen,
who is that he was talking to, though?
I don't know.
Jamar Chase has got some nice grills.
Are those nice? Like, is that cool?
I mean, I would not date some
That's what I'm saying. Like,
it's cool for the wide receiver one in the NFL.
Would you be interested? Is that an attractive thing for
No.
Yeah, I didn't think
it's swaggy because of who he is.
How could you make out with someone who had that?
I don't think you could. Yeah. Unless you want a bloody mouth.
Okay. Yep.
Wow.
Carrie, could you just turn it down a little bit on the volume of the TV? Thanks.
So that was tough. And someone says, is it time to talk about the future of Sean Payton? No. I don't think that there's any types of conversations happening in Denver about whether or not Sean Payton will be the coach next year.
I agree. I think that after a loss like that, and after these last couple of weeks, I think that he has left something to be desired, no doubt about it. It hasn't been perfect. But you got to respect where the Broncos are right now. They are 9-7 now. Vegas thought they were going to be 5.5 games. They've surpassed expectations. PFF, I mean, excuse me.
We don't care about them, but
no, we don't. Had the Broncos roster ranked last in the league. So I think Sean Payton has surpassed expectations and put the Broncos in a position right now to make the playoffs when nobody expected him to. So do I think that Sean Payton's head should be on the chopping block? No, absolutely not. But do I think he's coached perfect games? No. This last week against the Chargers, an enormous game. The Broncos folded up in the second half.
Yep.
This game against the Bengals, they had some opportunities there to win this game, and they weren't able to do that. Yep. I think ultimately, it's a team-wide thing. This is a very young team as well. Bo Nix, a very young leader, and you're hoping that he's going to be able to lead you through those moments. He had that miraculous throw to Marvin Mims, but ultimately, in overtime, just didn't have a good performance there.
Well, and I actually think in so many ways that catch by Mims was a larger reflection of Mims than it was of Bo Nix. I'm not saying Bo did not get it to Mims, but I think if it weren't for Mims being the superstar that he is, I do think there is a lot of potential with this team, ladies and gentlemen. You like that one? That's a good one. Lots of potential.
Someone says Bo Nix sucks.
I don't agree.
So,
you can't forget about all the good stuff he's done, Joshua.
Joshua Scott says Bo Nix sucks. Why does he suck, Joshua? What sucks about his game? Because I understand.
Be more specific.
In this moment, it's easy to say that because you're emotional. But what about Bo's game sucks? Because he, if you're looking at the stats, and I know stats aren't everything. Bo did go 24-31, 3 touchdowns and 1 interception, 219 yards. Not a bad game. 114.9 rating. I'm not into the QB ratings much myself. Much because nobody even knows what the fuck goes into it, right?
Yeah,
it's just a number. But but he had his team in position to beat a good team on the road. And so is there something he can improve on? Yeah, but I don't think he sucks.
He says he plays scared.
Well, he wasn't scared on that deep ball to Marvin for the touchdown, the 50 yard.
He didn't look scared at all.
That was a really nice throw. He made some nice throws today.
Well, he did, and that's the thing. I mean, up until that late game interception, he actually was having a fantastic game. He was having a really great game, in my opinion. He wasn't doing a whole lot wrong in this game. So I think when you really get down to it, if you wanted to break it down from a film perspective, I think Sean Payton will probably find a few more things wrong that he did than a Bo Nix or a defense. Or, I mean, this defense, yes, it ended up being a high-scoring affair, of course, with overtime, and our defense did start to look pretty tired late in the game, in my opinion, which is fair.
Yep.
They spent more time on the field, and they've been spending more time on the field all season long. So I have a little bit of grace with them in terms of being exhausted at this point in the season. But to hold this Bengals team in the first half to 10 points is wildly impressive. I would have loved. And
only 7 in the first half too.
Oh, 7. Yeah. Okay, so only 7, which is even better. But now also seeing the tail end of this game and realizing we've got a limping Pat Surtain and Moss just does not look full throttle, ready to go.
No.
To be honest, kind of makes hindsight is 20/20, but it kind of makes you wonder if he was ready to go for this game as much as we thought he was.
I've been an injured player before. They kind of create a timeline for your return, and then they kind of tell you, hey, this is going to be about a 3 to 4 week injury. What happens after week 3? If it isn't feeling right, well, how's it feeling? Because it should be ready to go pretty soon here. And then you're in there watching film and you're seeing the defense getting cut up and you're seeing your spot being exploited. You want to be out there. You understand if someone else gets in there in your spot and plays better than you, they're going to take your job. The pressure is on a player to get back out sooner than he's ready. I tore my MCL in NFL Europe. That thing popped in a way that I pulled my sock down expecting a bone to be sticking out. That's how it felt in my body.
Oh my God.
I had a big, fat 300-pound dude fall on the side of my leg as I was running, trying to catch a fumble. Everyone was like mad, pop. And I'm like, oh, nothing. It looked fine. I limp off to the sideline. Nothing. I didn't need surgery on it, but like the ligament went boing. It didn't tear all the way through, but it almost did. But then that will fuse back, and it did. And I was back on the field in 4 weeks, but I looked a lot like Riley did today after those 4 weeks. I wasn't ready to go.
Yeah, I just don't think he was ready. But to your point.
Was a corner, okay? So I was a receiver at the time. And as a receiver, you sort of, you do know where you're going, okay? The route is in your head already. You know your steps, and it's a lot easier. When you're a corner, it's like basketball where you're covering someone. You don't know where they're going to go.
You got to be shifty.
You got to react. So that puts a lot more pressure on the knee when it's not healthy, and you could see that. They were going after him today. Another thing I know about being in these NFL meetings is you plan to go after their weak fish. You plan to find the guy who's either not as good as the other side or coming off an injury or had a bad game the game before, and you attack them. That's what sports is. That's what competition is, going after their weaknesses. And Riley Moss, as well as he played before his injury, was the weakness out there on that defense today, and he was attacked. And like you mentioned, he did get hit in the head early in the game.
And they were talking like, oh, let's keep an eye on that, because he looked a little, I'm no doctor, but he did look a little rattled when he was hit in the head, which, of course, I mean, I think most of us would be. But if you couple that with also a knee that is still maybe kind of recovering, still healing. And then you're trying to
guard guys like T. Higgins and Jamar Chase.
Good luck with that.
It ain't going to happen.
It's not going to happen. I feel like one of my biggest takeaways right now with this game is the frustration that is solely the fact that the Broncos only needed a tie here.
Yeah.
Felt like the Bengals were kind of trying to hand it to them. Do you feel like Sean's ego was in the way of tying this game? Because you were frustrated by them passing the ball.
Yeah.
Did you feel like there was an element there of Sean Payton kind of wanting to be that superhero that we know he loves to be and wanting to end with a dub and ultimately kind of...
No, I don't think so necessarily. I just think his play calling, when you're hoping for a more traditional ground game attack that eats up the clock, his play calling just doesn't satisfy you because he likes the short, quick pass game, and he thinks that understandably so, takes the place of running the football. When you're good at it, when you have off coverage and it's an easy little throw. And to an extent, he's correct. Marvin Mims did catch that ball. The clock did keep going. However, he got 0 yards. And so, Audric Estime and this running game was working. And so it's not, to me, so much about the clock management at the end there. It's about doing what's working to try to pick up a first down and maintain ball and the possession of the football so you can end in a tie. I don't think he was trying to win the football game at the end there. I just think he was trying to pick up a first down the way he knows how to do it. And Sean Payton just calls the play differently. Right now, we got a CU and BYU up there. BYU up 7-0.
Almost an interception
By
there
Shiloh.
and fell short. But BYU up 7-0. And I think right before when we first switched it over to the CU game, there was a pretty big sack on Shedeur.
It was. And then on the very next play, a quick pass. It was like 3rd and 1,000,000. And a quick pass to Travis Hunter, and he got tackled. And then he was all mad, and him and Shedeur were getting into it.
Oh.
Yeah. Spicy.
Well, we do know Travis Hunter's dealing with a lot of stuff at home.
Leave Travis alone, man.
He's dealing with a lot though. Maybe he's a little agitated.
That's what I'm saying. Like, leave him alone online. Like, stop freaking.
Oh, I know it.
This.
Well, he actually, I think he deactivated all of his social media.
Yeah, good.
Ahead of this game, I think it was.
Did he deactivate his girlfriend though? Because that's probably the only thing that's gonna save him at this point.
I mean, I don't know about that, but you know what? That's kind of the way it probably should be for the remainder of his career, is just keep your relationship offline, because since he's deactivated it, no one can really say a whole lot. Nobody knows what they're up to.
Yeah.
They're not posting about their life. She's not even she deleted her social media as well. So I think it may just be better for them moving forward if they just completely remove themselves from the social media life, which is tough because in a position like Travis Hunter's, that's where you get a lot of brand deals. That's where you make a lot of extra money.
But actually just play really good football. That's going to be your brand deals, man.
I know, but do you know how these flipping brand deals, it is insane how much they are willing to pay these public figures for 2-3 posts on Instagram. It is nuts.
How much?
Oh my gosh. I think I looked up. Let me actually look up. How much does Alex, you know who Alex Earl is?
No.
Okay. She is a TikTok girl. She kind of really blew up on TikTok a couple years ago. This says, okay.
What does she do?
She just has like makeup videos where she just posts her get ready with me's and people love her. She's actually dating Braxton Berrios from the Miami Dolphins. Yeah. She's a beautiful girl. This right here says, the popular influencer is reportedly paid. This is also a year ago, so it's probably changed based on her likeness. Reportedly paid anywhere between $40,000 and $70,000 for a post for brands. That's for one post.
Wow.
So that's kind of that would be one of the big reasons I would say Travis Hunter reactivates his social media accounts, is for his likeness.
But isn't he already made millions, and isn't he about to make more millions?
Yeah, but don't you think that I don't think anyone's ever fully satisfied.
Okay, but we just saw a very frustrated Travis Hunter. We're just talking about all the things he's going throughout the field, maybe affecting him on the field.
It's fair.
If you want to play your best football.
Yeah, might be best for him.
Playing your best football is what's going to make you the most money, right?
Of course.
And so whatever it takes to do that.
Yeah, your likeness will decrease if you're not playing good football.
Yeah.
So
and then it'll actually just become a punchline.
Yeah. No, I think it's best. I think him taking a break, obviously, I'm bummed that he felt so much scrutiny from people that he felt like he needed to take a break, but I do think it's for the best. I think
agreed.
People kind of pushing him around. So it looks like Buffs just got a pretty big tackle there. It's 3rd and 13. Was that a sack or a tackle?
I think it was a sack.
Okay.
The quarterback scrambling a bit. But.
So 3rd and 13, BYU up 7-0 right now. There's about 2.5 minutes left in the first quarter, and we'll probably wrap this show around halftime of the Buffs game. So we'll talk to you guys a little bit about the CU Buffs Alamo Bowl here at their halftime, and we'll continue to talk to you about it. But back to the Broncos. So the Broncos need a win or a tie against the Chiefs. And at this point, screw the tie. Just win the damn football game, please. For the morale of this team, for the morale of Broncos country, let's just get a dub to end the season at home.
Yeah. Well, easier said than done, though.
Of course.
You know, and we got to be careful not to get lulled into this false sense of security about them resting their starters. The Chiefs are a very, very good football team. Mm-hmm. There would be nothing they would like to do more than come in here and beat the Broncos with their starters on the bench or not play. this is a team that plays very well together. They're going to be a game opponent. The Broncos now have put themselves into a corner after being in control of their own destiny for the last couple of weeks. Are they still in control? Yes. They beat the Chiefs and they're in no matter what. And they could still get in with a loss. But it would just have a bad taste, I think. And it would, to me, if the Broncos lost to the Chiefs and go into the playoffs on a 3-game losing streak, they're going to get smoked in the first round of the playoffs. They'll have zero confidence going into that game. This is about building momentum into the playoffs. It's not just about getting into the playoffs. It's about playing your best game when you get there. And these young Broncos are in a new position. Bo Nix is in a new position as a leader of an NFL team. Sean Payton in his second year here. And so do I think the Broncos are going to win the Super Bowl this year? No. But do I think that they can create a competitive wild card game, maybe win that and go on to another round? I do. But they got to start playing better. I want to just kind of talk about the resilience, though, with this team that kept them in the game against an opponent that, was playing better than them, has been playing better than them.
And before you get into that, I do think it's worth just putting this out there. Yes, we're going to spend a lot of time on this show talking about what the Broncos could have done differently to potentially win this game or what we need to see differently for them next week. But at the end of the day, hear me when I say the Bengals are a good-ass football team, and that is just the simple fact of them. They are a really, really great.
Are you making excuses for the Broncos right now?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Kind of sounds like you are.
No, I'm not. Not at all. Broncos the Broncos had more than enough to win that game. But I mean, for this Bengals team to be 7-8 is very, very unique because we've got Joe Burrow playing exceptional MVP level football. And if the Bengals record were any better, Joe Burrow would be the MVP ahead of Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. I mean, that's how good he's playing. And Jamar Chase is wide receiver 1 in the NFL. So it's a really great football team. And
BYU just did a surprise onside kick. They are, and recovered it. They are really messing with CU right now. They are energetically. This is because this whole week and this whole lead up has been about CU. It's been about Coach Prime. It's been about Travis. It's been about
his
Shador.
last game was Shador.
Right. And what do these guys, what do the opponents think about that? All right, well, we got something for you. They're up 10-0. They just did a surprise onside. Now they have the ball back. So CU finds themselves back against the wall here in the first quarter with a BYU opponent that's
and breaking tackles like a mofo.
Like a mofo.
Like a mofo.
But I want to talk about this a little bit of this Broncos because it was a game, because it was a tale of two halves here, at least when it comes to the Broncos and their ability to move the football. Now, the defense has been the strength of this team for quite a while now. The Broncos defense has kept them in games, big turnovers, top 5 defense in the NFL. And you just mentioned it today, facing one of the best, if not the best offenses in the NFL right now. Holding them to 24 points in regulation, I think, was a win for this defense. The Broncos offense, although they scored 3 touchdowns in the second half, that's pretty freaking awesome. They weren't able to do much of anything in the first half. They had a field goal on the first drive and then, punt, and then end of half. So really, the Bengals kept them in it by not being able to finish drives themselves. The Bengals had an 11-play drive that turned over on downs when they went for it on 4th down. Their next drive was a 17-play drive, turnover on downs when they went for it on 4th down inside the red zone or inside the 5-yard line. And then they got the ball back and went 7 plays and scored a touchdown. So really, the Bengals dominated time of possession in the first half, were able to move the ball pretty easily against the Broncos, taking advantage of Riley Moss, taking advantage of some holes in the secondary with the quick pass game. That was just too hard for them to stop. Now, the Broncos did end up with 7 sacks, and a lot of that happened in the second quarter in the second half when the Broncos defense stepped up and the Broncos offense was able to move the football a bit. You talked about that long play to Marvin Mims. 51-yard touchdown. That was a beautiful play.
It was
Marvin
beautiful.
Split the 2 safeties down the middle. He gave a little head nod to the corner, and he's a fast dude, and he got behind him. And then he got that other touchdown at the very end where he went up over 2 guys.
That was beautiful.
And snagged that thing. And you mentioned it didn't look like it was going to be a touchdown when Bo rolled right because he had a lot of pressure, rolled right, kind of tossed that thing up there, and Marvin went and got it. And that was pretty impressive. So
interception by the Buffs. Is that Hunter?
No.
No, number 8. Interception.
Wow. All right. Back in business.
They're back in business.
Wow. So anyway, pretty interesting game for the Broncos. Had an opportunity, fought back to stay in it, even though they were getting dominated, at least for offensively. But then just didn't have enough at the end there, and you kind of see that Bo Nix is still a rookie in those moments where you need to pick up a first down. you need to protect the ball. You need to find a way to manage the clock. Bo still has a little bit to be desired.
Well, I think, too, we've been very blessed by Bo Nix as a rookie quarterback. The same way the Commanders probably feel about Jaden Daniels as their rookie quarterback. There have been some rookie mistakes made by Bo, and I think in his positive and his upside has been much stronger than the rookie mistakes that he has made this season. So you almost forget that he's a rookie.
Yeah.
And then in moments like today, late game interception, you kind of have to remind yourself, this is the first year that he has gone head to head against NFL level defenses.
Yeah.
And toe to toe with quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow. That's a lot. It's a lot of pressure. And he has done a very, very great job this season of kind of getting thrown into the mix and doing a really great job at it. Is there still a chance to make the playoffs? Yes. There is. There's actually a few different ways this could go. I could tell you the easiest one, which is tying or winning against the Chiefs next weekend. But Nate, there's a chance they back in.
Yeah. Yeah, they can lose to the Chiefs and still get in if, the Bengals lose, Colts lose, or the Dolphins lose. Those are the three teams that are behind the Broncos right now. Obviously, the Bengals just beat the Broncos. The Bengals do need to win again next week and then, hope for some help. From the Dolphins, from the Broncos losing, and something else.
And the Dolphins play.
Yeah.
Tomorrow they play the Browns.
Yeah.
And then the following week they play the Jets.
Yeah, they can win both of those games. Where's that Jets game?
That Jets game is at Jets.
Okay. Yeah, that's harder. That's harder for Hawk Tua.
Especially if there's weather.
He's not very good in the cold.
Did you just call him Hawk Tua?
I did.
That's fantastic.
He's not that good in the cold.
And then Bengals, after the Broncos, are playing the Steelers next weekend, which will be a division game, an excellent game. And the Steelers
have a lot to play for as well. And probably tasted a little blood in their mouth after facing the Chiefs and falling short. So that should be a really great game, actually. So there's a chance that the Bengals don't win their last game on January 5th against the Steelers. And the Dolphins could lose. And who was the other team you said? Colts. Broncos beat them head-to-head, so.
They did. And the Colts play the Jags.
And I think that even if the Colts win both games, they're still out because I think the Broncos
head-to-head beat
them. So someone's saying Nix and Benito lost their shot at Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year. Yeah, I think you're probably right.
I think so too.
Even though I would say that Nick Benito didn't have a bad game today, he did have a couple penalties, right? And he didn't get any sacks. I mean, the Broncos defense had 7 sacks, 7 of them. And Nick Benito didn't get in on that action, which, sucks when everybody is eating except you. But you also got to understand that when you got a player like Benito, the Bengals are aware of Benito. They got a little something extra for him. Although I didn't see him giving him a lot of chip help out there. I think that left tackle just did a pretty good job on Nick Benito today. But Zack Allen had 3.5 sacks and 2 tackles for losses and 6 quarterback hits, Liv. He was living in the backfield. But I'll tell you one thing and one stat that really shows you exactly how messed up things were today, and that's Riley Moss leading the team in tackles with 14, which means they're throwing at him every play, and he's the one who has to end the play because that's where the ball is going.
Mm-hmm.
If a corner is leading your team in tackles, it means he's around the ball all the time. It means they're going over there. And that quick pass game for the Bengals was just very effective.
It was.
And the Broncos had no answer for it. There's not a lot you can do there. I mean, you have to play tight coverage. You can't get to the quarterback as fast as he can get rid of it on a 3-step drop like that. You just can't. And so you need to tackle well, which the Broncos did relatively well. But you also have to play tight coverage and not allow those completions to happen. And the Broncos weren't able to do that.
Another little interesting number here. Overtime yardage for the Bengals, 119. For the Broncos, 6. And we were calling screen passes. I'm no professional coach in the NFL.
Shador going deep.
Ooh, bad. I am no professional coach in the NFL, but I think those are the kinds of moments where people just don't quite align with Sean Payton's vision.
Yep.
That's where I think you get Broncos country that's looking at Sean going, what was the thought process there, Sean? What were we thinking there? And I think you even said it when you were watching. What was that call? Why are we doing that?
Yeah. I think there's a reason why he wrote "run it" on his play sheet last week, because it's very antithetical to his instinct as a play caller. Running the football, not what he loves to do. He loves to air it out.
Yep.
He was a quarterback. You remember Sean Payton was a quarterback in college at Eastern Illinois. Something you might not know about Sean Payton as that quarterback, holds the Eastern Illinois record for most passing yards in a game by a quarterback with over 500 yards. That's the guy Sean Payton thinks he is, right? A pocket passer. You can see it, right? That's just kind of where his ego is, where his instinct is, where his personality is in a pocket passer who knows where to throw the ball and knows how to pick up apart defenses. That's why he didn't like Russell Wilson, because Russell didn't see the field that way. He played a different brand of football, got sacked 1 million times last year, and did weird shit with the ball that you didn't plan on, that you didn't plan for. That's why he's gone. That's why Bo's here. Sean sees in Bo a reflection of himself to an extent. Sean Payton did get onto an NFL roster in training camp, and it didn't go well for him. And he'll admit as much that he wasn't good enough for that level. But he got into coaching immediately and has had potent passing attacks ever since. And so, running the football is something that takes a commitment. Oh, look at Travis Hunter. Oh, he's about to take it to the house. He just took a little 5-yard pass.
God, he is so fun to watch.
It took it about 60 yards.
Wow.
There at the Valero Alamo Bowl.
He's going to try to silence the haters in this game, huh?
Ooh, yeah, a little shallow cross, finds a soft spot, cuts back, and his instinct with the ball in his hands, he's very difficult to tackle, cutting through the BYU defense like a hot knife through butter.
We should have rehearsed that. Sorry, guys, we didn't rehearse that part earlier, so little choppy there on the delivery, but you got the point.
A knife through hot knife through butter. Come on, man.
And there it is again. So we'll rehearse that next time for sure. Because
if you don't
must be a tongue twister.
Well, some people keep butter in the fridge all the time. Some people leave it out.
Are you a butter in the fridge type of guy?
Nah. I mean, I leave it in the fridge when I get it, but when I'm ready to use it, I pull it out and I leave it out, and then I leave it out for the next day and for the next couple days of buttering.
That's just called lazy.
No, it's not. It's called I want to be able to spread the fucking butter.
I guarantee you your wife doesn't view that as you trying to have softened butter. She's probably like, put that back where you found it.
No,
Guaranteed.
It's funny when you do get married, like you have different ideas of things, and butter is one of those things. She thinks it should be back in the fridge. I think it should be back
your wife
out on
is
the
right.
counter. Well, how are you going to spread it over some bread, Liv?
Well, you take it out a few moments.
A few moments or like an hour before you're ready to toast it. You guys, tell me on the chat who's right here. Do you leave butter out so you can actually butter it? Or do you leave the butter in the fridge and you have to hack off pieces with a freaking
But you know what's funny is you say you pull it out of the fridge to use it. So you use it hard that one time. And then you just leave it out until the next time. Not if I have the
foresight to pull it out before. The worst thing is trying to put like hard butter on some pancakes or something.
But you know what? That means your food's not hot enough because it should melt right away. Here's what I am notorious for. I want my food to burn my mouth. If it is not so hot that it actually hurts going down, then it is not hot enough.
Well, then you probably don't like DoorDash and stuff like that because it comes cold. But you do.
And thank God we have a microwave.
Oh,
because I will zap that crap until it is piping.
You'll zap that crap.
Zap that crap. Seriously. Also, another unpopular opinion here while we're waiting to see if this Buffs team can get in the end zone here. Another unpopular opinion. No. My ice cream needs to be rock solid to the point where the spoon might break.
Oh, and that's why you like hard butter as well.
I have seen friends of mine take the pint of ice cream and put it in the microwave to soften it enough to put your spoon through it. That is psychotic.
I think I've done that because
you're a psychopath.
Because sometimes that bed or whatever it is.
And then it's soupy around the edge. That is disgusting. What are you having, soup or are you having ice cream? That is so at that point, we'll get a warm milkshake. I'm not turning it
into soup, but sometimes the ice cream can get really freaking hard.
And that's how you should have it. I like to chew my ice cream before I swallow it.
Okay. Interesting.
So if it's not piping hot or ice cold, I don't want it. I don't like that room temperature nonsense. None of that. None of that. So anyway, we need to
Shador getting, oof. Takes a 30-yard sack.
Wow.
On 3rd and 3.
Yeah, Shador. Phew-wee.
Scouts don't like that one.
I was just gonna say, I'm not sure he looks any better than Danny Dimes right there, to be honest with you.
No.
In that little moment right there.
And
Now,
so moments like that, I don't think that's gonna,
it's not.
Look, what I'm saying is like if the Buffs lose this game and he plays poorly, is that going to affect his draft status
Probably not.
at all? Is it going to affect whether he's the first overall pick or if a different quarterback is looked at more favorably, like Cam Ward or the Raiders will still get him, says Carrie.
Here's the deal. I think that there's been a conversation about that for a while, Nate. So I would actually love to know your opinion there. Do you think bowl games
They missed the kick.
should be another Yorker dorker right there?
Does he have a mustache? Probably.
He probably doesn't. He'll
Look at
probably put his
Coach Prime
backwards hat
looking-
on.
Coach Prime looking like he's 25 with a cleanly shaven look. Though.
Yeah, he sure is.
Do you know
but
there's some superstitions around his facial hair? Like he shouldn't shave because when he shaves, they don't play as well as when he lets the grandpa beard come out.
really?
Yeah.
Are you a superstitious person
No.
at all?
I would say like very.
and
I'm
you
not going to say
weren't.
the joke that everyone says,
What is
which
the
is
joke?
I'm not superstitious. I'm just a little stitious. Not superstitious, just a little stitious. It's a joke that a lot of football players tell because they heard it once at one time and they just tell. I'm not going to do that joke, even though I just did.
You did though.
But I made fun of it, right?
Okay.
I'm not.
But I'll never
superstitious.
unhear it. So
I will say that there's a bit of a routine to the way I went
Yeah.
about things.
I think that's different.
But I didn't like have to go do this one thing or
Okay.
wear these one pair of socks or anything like that.
I mean, I think a game day routine is pretty common practice. Like even when I was at TCU as a showgirl for game days, I would have a you wake up, you do the coffee, you go grab your Red Bull, you put it over ice. Like that was just kind of my thing.
Wait,
but it
you wake
wasn't
up, do the coffee, then you get Red Bull, put it over ice. Why do you need so many like stimulants in there?
because I was an Energizer Bunny out there. You know how many hair flips we do out there? You need to be on like practically crack.
Yeah.
To get the job done.
Well, you're practically there. I mean, what was it? Was that escalating to some?
We never actually got to the crack. No.
Okay.
But I think the Red Bull over ice was probably the final straw. But like, yes, you did. Yeah, and then sometimes I'd get like just a straight black iced coffee over ice, and I would sip that throughout the game.
Oh, one of my friends who I played with, John Engelberger, he was a defensive lineman. Before the game, he would be drinking coffee, and he put Copenhagen in the coffee.
OMG.
Yeah, it was pretty aggressive.
That is very aggressive.
But you know, all players have their rituals and stuff like that.
They do.
And the adrenaline of the moment, the excitement. I mean, you're watching the Broncos Bengals game tonight. Like if you're a player and all that energy, I mean, you feel like you're walking on a cloud there. A lot of these guys are on certain things to get them ready to go, whether it's some stuff to get them up, like stimulants or some.
Are you allowed to do that though?
Well, it depends on what it is.
So there's like a loopholes. There's ways around.
There are banned substances, and then there are substances that are not banned. But the list of banned substances is really, really long, and it gets longer every year. So you may think you're doing something that you can do, and they can get you. Like back in the day,
I almost died once doing C4.
C4 is pretty intense.
I thought I was having a flipping heart attack.
Yeah.
Also in the Texas heat, like they had to take me into the tunnel during a TCU football game because I was like, I think my heart's about to jump out of my skin.
Really?
I could not.
You're like, I had the coffee, I had the Red Bull over ice, I smoked the crack, and then I had some C4.
And now I feel like I'm dying.
I don't know what's going on, you guys. What have you eaten? Nothing. Did anyone have an ice chip?
How much water have you drank? None. Yeah, that's probably true. You know, that might have been more about what was going on there. But all I know is I thought I had to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
On a stretcher.
Well, there's this stuff called Ripped Fuel. Do you remember Ripped Fuel? It's probably before your time. I used to take that before games in college, and it was ephedrine, and it would get you so jacked up, but it made you very dehydrated at the same time. So I would cramp up a lot in like the second half because I was just expending so much energy, the fluid, and then big time programs, they have different methods to deal with cramps. I played for a D3 school, so they would just have mustard packets, and they would just
like
eat
salt,
mustard.
right?
Yeah, just eating mustard on the sideline to work with the cramps.
Which is very interesting because salt dehydrates you.
Yeah.
But they do say when you're cramping, you need sodium.
That's why the kids drink Pedialyte, the salty drink.
That's what we used to drink at TCU.
Well, now Gator Light is like that version, you know, the salty Gatorade.
We would literally drink the Pedialyte. We'd get the big things and we'd all stick a straw in them and we would just chug those before and after the games.
Yeah.
Because Texas heat is different. I got to just put that out there. It is so damn hot out there and humid and you're just like drenched in your own sweat. It's foul.
Yeah.
So yeah, Pedialyte was a game changer for us. It appears PS2 might need some Pedialyte today. Riley Moss. I'm going to be very interested to hear the injury update as it pertains to both of those players, because Riley Moss was 1,000% not in full health. And obviously hindsight's 2020, but when you see how many different guys he was having to tackle because the ball was going right to him, makes you wonder, was he ready? Was he ready for this game? Again, probably not, but to your point, you got to get back into it at some point.
Yeah. You know,
so
the Bengals deserved to win this game. They played better. They moved the ball better than the Broncos. They outgained them 499 yards to 329. They outpossessed them time of possession wise, almost 42 minutes. 42 minutes to the Broncos 27 minutes. So that's over 15 minutes on time of possession there. They threw for, Joe Burrow threw for 412 yards, Liv. 49 attempts, and he had to take off a couple times. So they dropped back to throw over 50 times. T. Higgins had 11 catches. Jamar had 9. Giuseppe had 10. They had 3 guys who were up there.
We don't like that guy around
T.
here.
Higgins had 12 targets. Jamar Chase had the ball thrown to him 15 times. Mike Giuseppe had it 12 times. And so, look, that's what you're going to get with Joe Burrow. I mean, he's very accurate, and the quick pass game is really, really good and very strong.
Yeah, we got that.
All right.
We have Sean Payton from Cincinnati. We have our very own Brandon Krisztal out there getting us some sound bites. So let's take a listen to what Sean Payton has to say about that very depressing loss to the Bengals.
Excuse me. My voice is a little hoarse. Obviously, a hard-fought game. A tough one to lose. We had our opportunities. I'm proud of this team. I thought it wasn't perfect, but man, the will to compete and answer, it was pretty impressive. We spent some time thinking about. I'm gonna answer this now. All right, going for 2. We knew a tie though was for us just as beneficial as a win. We felt like we had the momentum at that point. So, look, it went back and forth, and in the end, we didn't make enough plays. They did. All right. Any questions?
Basically, he said, let me tell you every question that you have first so that you don't ask any stupid questions that piss me off. How about that?
Yeah, listen, we're going to – so if you –
Sorry, I'm a little hoarse.
A little hoarse.
Relative to the sickness.
So he's very aware of what he's going to be questioned for. After a game. So he jumps it, he preempts it by saying, look, I know you're going to question this. This is why I did it. The 2-point conversion, right?
He basically said, let me get to your question, even though you haven't asked it yet.
Yeah.
So there you go. But the 2 points, do you agree with what he said?
I do, actually. It's a really ballsy call to go for 2 to win the game like that. Now, he's right. The Broncos win with a tie, essentially. And so that tie was going to get him in, right? And so I don't mind him playing for the tie there, deciding that they had the momentum there. I don't know if that's completely accurate because the Bengals had just scored right before that. So he's talking about that big play, right? And so that big play was good. But I've been on a team where we scored with, only a couple seconds left and we were down 1. And Mike Shanahan says, screw it, let's go for 2. And we did, and we won. And we ran the exact same play that we ran the previous play. So, fortune does favor the bold in that situation sometimes. But I don't think he has the team here that he believes in and trusts so far to make that in that moment. This is a young team, and you don't want to put him in that position yet when a tie does get you into the playoffs. But that's something he's going to second guess, and I think that's, look, if the Broncos had been able to take care of business in overtime, they never would have had that problem, right?
Correct.
And so I think taking the points there, going for 1, sending it to overtime, I believe was the right thing to do.
I agree, and I just think there were a lot of I don't know. I don't know the appropriate way to say this without sounding like a hater of my own team that I love very, very dearly. But at the end of the day, I think the Bengals are just a better team.
Yeah, right now.
I mean, that's the reality. I think the Broncos have a better defense for sure, a far more reliable defense. But we know just how important offense is. And Joe Burrow has been a reliable quarterback in this league if he's not injured. Jamar Chase having an MVP level season. Also Joe Burrow himself having an MVP level season. So there were gonna have to be a lot of things that went right for this Broncos team. And I don't think we've seen those things go right enough times consistently throughout this season for Sean Payton to say, let's go for 2, because I feel really confident we can get it done.
Yeah.
We're not there yet. Now, is the future exceptionally bright for this Broncos team? Yes. I think the ceiling is very high. I think the future is very bright. And I think there's a lot of things that Broncos fans should be very, very excited about as it pertains to having Sean Payton as a coach, having Bo Nix as your quarterback, having Vance Joseph, hopefully we keep him around, leading the charge on this defense. There's a lot of things to be excited about. I also want to make mention of course, I bring this person up all the time, but Brandon Jones was a new add this season. And so we've already seen him under Vance Joseph do some really impressive things. So I think once we get this defense back in full health and we've got our offense with a full offseason to continue clicking. Like I said, I think I don't like the word disappointment, but the most underwhelming part of our offense this season, when I flash back to what I anticipated from this offense, was the Bo Nix to Troy Franklin connection. It just did not happen this season. We saw a long ball by Bo Nix get missed by Troy, not by Troy's fault at all.
Right.
It was overthrown by Bo, but I think we saw that happening a lot this season, and we saw Bo Nix continuing to go to Troy Franklin, hoping that it would click, and it just never did. So that would be the one thing that I would love to see some improvement on in the offseason, is finding that connection, because we're always seeing Troy Franklin go long, and Bo Nix and Troy have not been able to connect at all.
Yeah, and then it is a bit of a question mark, right? Because they did have that connection in college.
Mm-hmm.
Troy Franklin had some like 70-something catches for like 1,200, 1,300 yards last year in Oregon, and like a lot of touchdowns, 14, 15 touchdowns from Bo Nix. And so those guys have the experience of playing together, connecting, haven't been able to do it. That deep ball missed by Bo. He had a nice deep ball thrown to Marvin Mims for that touchdown. But he missed some stuff today. He just looked a little skittish in the pocket at times, bailing out of the pocket when he had a nice clean pocket. He could have stepped up in. He sees the pressure. He wants to get out of the pocket. This is something that an experienced quarterback is going to understand, that you have actually time to move around in the pocket. You don't have to exit the pocket. Allow those big boys to create that space for you to step up and find your receivers down the field. Because those receivers who are running down the field are running timing-based routes where it's predicated on how many steps they're taking. And so when Bo bails out a little bit early and gets on the run, is looking for guys, well, those guys haven't even come out of their breaks yet, and they're not looking to see their quarterback scrambling. And so there's a timing issue that is off with a little bit of what they're doing out there, but that will get better.
Yep.
That will continue to get better. But again, the Bengals are a better team.
Yeah, no, they are.
Their offense is much more efficient. Their passing game much more precise. T. Higgins, 11 catches, Jamar, 9, Jizeki, 10. Marvin Mims led the team, 8 catches for 103 yards, had a fantastic game, 2 touchdowns. Other than that, not a lot doing in the passing game. Cortland Sutton did have a few catches that were nice, or that were like important third down pickups, but he only had 5 for 55.
Right.
Nothing crazy there.
I expected a little more from Sutton in this one, but
yeah. And then after that, you got no action. Devon Vele, 2 for 27. He had a nice catch for sure. One of those was Audric Estime, 1 for 13. Nate Atkins, 1 for 7. He caught a ball that wasn't even intended for him. He reached up and grabbed it, which, I've done that before. You see a ball coming at you, you're going to try to grab it. Jaleel McLaughlin, 2 catches for 7 yards. Troutman, 1 for 5. Lucas Kroll, 1 for 3. It burned 30 seconds of the clock at the very end. They're not Lucas's fault, I guess. But just kind of a sort of when compared to the Bengals and what they're able to do.
correct.
Which is the gold standard,
It was just boom, boom, boom. They just could find a way. Joe Burrow was finding a way no matter what.
Again, Riley Moss leading the team in tackles on a hobbled knee and possibly concussed. The opponents saw that, attacked him.
They took
he had
advantage
11
of it.
solo tackles, meaning they're throwing him the ball. They're throwing it right at him, and he's the one having to make those tackles. And so not only is he getting exploited mentally, he's physically banged up. He's going to have a tough time to turn around and get ready for this Chiefs game.
Yeah. A quick update here, you guys. Still 10-0 BYU. However, BYU just had a turnover. The CU Buffs got a interception there. They now have the ball. They just got a false start call. It's 2nd and 13 with about 7:26 on the clock before halftime. And despite Sean Payton trying to jump ahead of the reporters in the room and say, let me answer your question before you ask it, somebody else said, screw you, I'm asking it anyway. So we do have a clip of Sean Payton on going for 2 and overtime. So let's check out what he's got to say on a deeper level, because they clearly didn't care what he thought about getting this question asked. So let's check it out.
As you said, the message gets to 10, so you don't have to, I guess, do the math on it, but is it kind of reiterating that or reworking that message?
It changed, right? Like, we got to get to 10.
Could you talk about how near the end of the game going for the extra point instead of the 2-point conversion?
I said at the beginning.
Yeah. No, I know.
But we discussed it at length.
Like, okay, we might play for the tie.
No, I going into this game, I knew all of that stuff. Tie, everything down to the, and so a lot of it is your gut relative to, how the toss goes. We were moving a little bit on offense, and then weighing the percentages of the 2-point conversion. I think that had a lot to do with it. If the tie element didn't sit in there, it would probably been a little bit easier decision. Obviously, I'm going to get asked the question either way, and so I was comfortable with the decision. We had plenty of time with the decision. Go ahead.
What did you see from your vantage point of Bo Nix's interception there?
Yeah, I want to see the film of it. I know he was trying to get it to the spear route. It's cover 2, but that's as much as I saw.
And you haven't talked about Mims's catch.
I just finished talking about both of them.
Okay, but I mean, how
Do you want me to?
exhilarating were you when
It was exhilarating. It was exhilarating. It was exciting. Which one?
31 yards?
Both of them were exhilarating. Thank you.
I already said that, so thanks for asking again. I mean, he has no patience. 0.
He licks his lips a lot.
Yeah, let's get that man some chapstick as well.
Yeah, get some Carmex.
Decision. It was a decision we made. Yeah, well, he did not want to answer that freaking question.
No.
He's like, I literally walked in here and I told you everything you needed to know, so don't ask me stupid crap.
What's the question?
Yeah.
I already answered that. Decisions are made. Look,
I do agree with him in the sense that if the tie was not something on the table and they needed a win, going for 2 would have been an easier decision to make.
Yeah.
To be honest.
I mean, look,
that's a good answer in the sense that, like, hey, when a tie's on the table, you have more options than you normally would.
Yeah.
If we didn't have that option and the win was all we needed, if that was our only option was a win, then going for 2 definitely feels like a more appropriate.
Yeah. If it was the Bengals in the same situation, they should go for 2, right?
Yes.
Because they
needed the win. Yes.
The tie doesn't help them.
Yep.
But the Broncos are in a different situation. I don't have any problem with the way he handled that.
No.
I think that a coach on the ground in that moment has to trust his gut when it comes to that. And he tried to say as much. But you see how prickly Sean can get in those moments after the game when he has to answer to people he thinks are lesser than him. And look, he rubs some people the wrong way. I would not want to be in Sean Payton's way over the next week or so. This is not going to be fun to be a Bronco, even though you're on the doorstep of the playoffs and you're playing your last home game against the Chiefs with an opportunity to get to the playoffs. This is going to be a very tense, difficult week at practice for these Broncos because there's a way they can miss the playoffs, guys.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be a monumental collapse. And it would change the way everyone looked at this season. Even though they have surpassed expectations, even though they have more wins than anyone thought, even though they're about to make the playoffs, if they were to lose 3 straight, miss the playoffs, Liv, your feeling about Sean Payton would change. Your feeling about Bo Nix might change, right? If Bo played really bad against the Chiefs, I know we talked about this before, but how does that change the way people look at Bo going into the offseason? I was on the Broncos in 2008. We were 8-5. I had gotten injured a couple weeks before, so I wasn't in these games. but it was 8-5. All we had to do was win one, and we were in the playoffs. We had missed the playoffs the previous year, actually the previous 2 years. For the first time, Mike Shanahan made the playoffs every year, but he decided to make a quarterback change. Jake Plummer got benched. Jay went in, and Jay had us miss the playoffs 2 straight years. But there we were, 8-5. Had to win one of the last 3 against some not very good opponents. We lost all 3 games, and then Mike Shanahan got fired the day after the season in a move that took us all by surprise. Josh McDaniels came in, changed the whole face of the organization. Jay Cutler got shipped out. Tony Scheffler got shipped out. Brandon Marshall got shipped out. Everything changed after that, and that's what can really happen after a collapse in the late season. And so I was, watching Pittsburgh, the university, play their bowl game or whatever. It wasn't that interesting to me. But this coach started off 7-0 and then lost 6 straight to end the season. Imagine,
BYU scores.
Touchdown.
Wow.
BYU.
Touchdown BYU. 64-yard TD return.
Was that a punt?
I believe it was. Because it was 4th and 23 for the Buffs the last time I put my eyes on that screen.
Parker Kingston of BYU.
Well.
Not good, right? Not good.
5:32 left on the clock before halftime, and BYU now up 16-0. Do you think there are people that would classify what has happened in the tail end of this Broncos season as a late season collapse?
I think it's TBD. But if they lose to the Chiefs and the Bengals win out, for example, or somebody else gets in, absolutely, that would be a collapse. And I think, a few heads might roll, and I don't know which heads would roll, but they got to find a way to get into the playoffs. I think that's ultimately where, you have expectations in life or standards or things you aspire to. And then once you're in sight of that, you recalibrate your expectations. It's not like it's a hope and a wish anymore. We expect to be in the playoffs. And if we don't make it into the playoffs, that's a problem. We screwed that up.
Yeah.
And so if the Broncos aren't able to, they lost to the Chargers by playing only one half of football. They had it in their hands today and let it slip through their fingers.
Yep.
The Chiefs are going to come to town here at Empower Field and rest their starters. And if you can't get that done, it's going to be viewed pretty poorly around town.
100%. And I do think, of course, there's an expectation of when you ride that high and you do better than people expected you to do, there's obviously an element of you get kind of spoiled brat syndrome a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to remember Vegas did not think that the Broncos were winning more than 5.5 games.
Right.
So we have been pretty blessed to get what we've gotten under a rookie quarterback and a new coach that finally is able to implement his coaching strategies a little bit more without having to deal with the remaining messes left by the previous coach. And so there's a lot of things that I think we all had that understanding that there was going to maybe be some grace that needed to be allowed. And then we got pleasantly surprised by a really great season. So I don't think that there's going to be any ounce of, oh God, what kind of restructuring do we need to do? What kind of chess playing do we need to do? I don't think any of that is going to be necessary and or even considered. Update here from you, Nate.
It's
What
17-0. It's 17-0.
17-0.
Coach Prime and CU kind of just struggling. 5 penalties, 2 first downs, and 3 sacks on offense. Surrendered the onside kick, missed a 48-yard field goal, and it just allowed a 64-yard punt return touchdown. The CU Buffs are playing like dog poop.
Dog poo-poo caca.
And this is not how they wanted to go out, especially when, Shedeur decided to play. Travis Hunter decided to play. These guys are top 5 picks, top 3 picks in the NFL draft coming up. Shedeur Sanders is now, limping, getting up. He just tried to slide, and a guy came over the top of him and hit him.
Oof.
Well, there wasn't much he could do there.
Yeah, not a whole lot.
Kind of tripped him, but that's the danger of the slide.
Yeah, we know how Nate feels about that damn slide. He's ready for that thing to be.
They need to take the baseball slide out of the game of football.
Exonerated. Exonerate the slide.
Yeah, make these quarterbacks into runners, and they don't get special treatment. And then they won't expect special treatment. Then they won't run down the field thinking they're not going to get popped by this angry lion chasing them.
Angry lion, I love it. Well, speaking of quarterbacks, we do have Bo Nix's clip ready, talking about that very tough loss. Obviously, we know he had a pretty decent game himself, and late game interception and a freaking awesome ball to Marvin Mims, who was able to grab a hold of it, show some grip strength, and send it into overtime. But let's figure out what our quarterback for the Denver Broncos, Bo Nix, has to say about that game. Let's check it out.
Well, what's that like in the second half? They're kind of going drive after drive with that, and obviously have the long one to Marvin, and at the end, another one to Marvin. Just what do you feel in that moment as you know you've got to match up drive for drive?
Honestly, it's really fun. It's why you play the sport. You play them, for moments like this. We had our opportunities, and we just didn't finish.
Bo, could you take us through the second touchdown pass you threw to Marvin where you rode to the right end on fourth down as tied the game?
Yeah, we had been practicing that. We ran a bootleg earlier, and they kind of overplayed it, so we thought we could, hit them with a little corner post, and Marvin just pretty much just outran him. We caught the edge, and he was just down there open. The safeties kind of squatted. We did a good job of, scheming that one up.
And what did you see on the interception? Could you take me through that? What did you see there?
Yeah, a lot of jerseys trying to force one in there, and, that happens.
Sean said that he was happy with you all battling back, and you've done that certainly plenty. So I guess how good did it feel even though you come up short to make an overtime game?
Well, it's a complicated answer because it doesn't feel very good. But it's there, so I think the only good thing that comes out of games like this is you see us battle and you see us compete really hard, and at the end of the day, that's what we talk about. Sometimes this game, if you compete really hard, it'll bring you, you'll fail and it'll bring you flat on your face, but at least you're out there competing and you're not just kind of handing it over there to them and giving up, and it creates a good team, and you won't always be flat on your face. So, eventually you keep competing and you pull these games out.
I mean, we have seen Bo Nix be an exceptional leader this season, and I mean, he's just being pretty real and raw and honest on that one, that it sucks. And there's probably a lot of should've, could've, would'ves that you think about when you look at this game now in hindsight. But when you're in it, when you're going toe-to-toe against a guy like Joe Burrow, who's having an MVP-level season, there's only so much you can do and control in that situation. Did you appreciate his responses? I always do.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's always puts his emotions aside and goes up there and says what needs to be said in a professional manner. And I think that, as disappointing as a loss is like that, you put so much into it. You go on the road with your buddies in front of all that energy, that crowd, they're yelling a lot of nasty things at you. You're doing it in front of the world. You're doing it in front of your friends and family. You put yourself out there, and then you fail. And then you got to stand up in front of everybody and answer these questions. Some of them you might think are idiotic, even when they're asked by intelligent people like the guy who's waiting for us right now.
Yeah, let's welcome in Brandon Krisztal, who is in Cincinnati right now. BK, how are you feeling after that loss for the Broncos?
It's tricky because, and you heard both say that was a tricky answer when I asked him about, do you feel good about the comeback? At halftime when it's 7-3, they've had 4 straight quarters with 2 field goals and nothing else to show for it. And it came on the first drive of that second half in LA after such a good start to that game. And then the first drive of the game where they did what Nate suggested on off field yesterday, that if they win the toss, take the ball, go down and attack this Bengals defense. Well, then the Bengals defense turned into the 85 Bears. And you're like, well, this is not what you thought. And 58 looked like Ray Lewis out there. But as the game went on, the Broncos obviously answered, and then they were kind of going toe to toe. And so I think you have to feel good about that. When you got to Joe Burrow, good things happen, and they were able to sack him 7 times. But when you didn't, he was 39 of 49. He throws for 400 yards. T. Higgins is the best number 2 in football. He's the number 1 most places. In fact, he might be the number 1 if he were in Denver. And then Jamar Chase, they made it hard on him whenever PS2 was there, and he got away with a couple little nudges. Nate, it reminded me of Michael Irvin. But in general, you saw them battle. They had their chances. They come up with the big turnover. Then they obviously give the ball right back. They get the football gods to finally have a kick situation turn out in their favor, but they're not able to capitalize on that. And then ultimately T. Higgins takes advantage late, and Joe Burrow makes a great throw, and that sets up the game winner. So I think you feel good about some things, and you certainly feel good about the way they played in the second half as compared to the first, certainly offensively, but there's still some cause for concern because they've been in position to win these games the last 2 weeks and have an easier trip or adjust their improve their playoff positioning. And now they're just clinging to battling for that 7th spot if they can beat what we think will be not an undermanned Chiefs, but a handful of starters that we won't see next week.
BK, the Denver Broncos defense playing against one of the, maybe the top or one of the top offenses in the NFL right now, held them to 24 points in regulation. I think that's a win, of course, but they did go after this secondary, particularly Riley Moss and company, whoever was opposite there. Riley Moss leading the team in tackles with 14. That's never a good sign. From where you were sitting, what did that look like? Were they just going after him? And how did Riley react to that body language-wise?
Well, I think the one thing we've learned about Riley is he does not shy away from challenges. He knew from the jump when he won that starting job, which he absolutely won in training camp, that he was going to be tested all year long. When you got the best cornerback in football opposite of you, they're not going to be in a hurry to go his way very often. You saw it plenty, Nate, because you played with the best cornerback in football for a number of years in Champ Bailey, and he didn't get a lot of opportunity because teams just avoided him. And so Riley Moss has played great throughout the year. Then he's been banged up. And you mentioned the last couple of weeks how even though they were being cautious and he took a full 4 games to get healthy, that MCLs are tricky. And I think that I don't know if it can get stronger, but I don't feel like he's 100%. At least that's the way it looked. When he's sitting early, Sean Payton tried to downplay that and say we had packages for that. But you were seeing him, and I could see because the press box was over here, the sideline was over here, and he's sitting there stretching. I don't know how much TV caught him or whatever. So he missed those couple of plays, came back in, and he's around the football. They probably weren't able to play as much man as they would have liked, and I think that that's just part of it. When you've been playing so much more zone, they said 40% man when Riley had been playing, and now 30% of the time they were in man up until tonight. I don't know what those percentages were. I think Riley was fine with the attention, but like you said, you don't want your corner having 14 tackles. The hope is that he's not doing anything to further aggravate it, and then he's going to get stronger with the extra day of rest before Sunday's game against the Chiefs. It's understandable why they kept going at Riley Moss when they have the weapons that they do.
BK, being there in Cincinnati and being around the sideline and in the press box, were you able to get any type of clarity on Pat Surtain's potential injury? We did see him late in the game limping a little bit. Obviously, there were some conversations about Riley Moss, who got knocked around and hit in the head a little bit earlier in the game. Were there any injury updates that you were able to hear while you were out there?
Well, yeah, I'm sorry.
Brandon.
Me or not, but if you got me still, as it relates to injuries, they don't really disclose much, but it didn't seem like anything was dire in the locker room one way or the other. And as physical as it was, you saw Chase Brown go out, you saw some other guys get banged up. I think Damari Mathis got banged up early. He was still able to play and contribute in some of those sub packages and on special teams. So considering they're going into the final game of the season 2 years in a row, you have to give credit to Bo Lowry, the Broncos training staff, and he's the guy Sean Payton brought in that he had in New Orleans, and he went to LSU. They paid him a bunch of money. They've been remarkably healthy, and they're healthy again, which is all you can ask for playing this late in the year. Obviously, the final regular season game in the new year. You've got to feel good about the overall health of this team.
BK, talk a little bit about our rookie quarterback, Bo Nix, and the job you think he did tonight. 24-31, 219 yards, 3 touchdowns, a pretty costly interception there at the end on a 3rd and long where you didn't really need to do that. Trying to go toe-to-toe with, we've talked about how good Joe Burrow is playing. You can't ask him to do that. Do you think he did enough tonight for a rookie quarterback to kind of win a game like that?
I do. And you look at the throw he made to Marvin Mims, it was, I think, 65, 67 air yards on that first long touchdown. And then all you've ever wanted, I'm sure, as a pass catcher, Nate, is to have a chance for your quarterback to give you a chance to go get it. And they were running out of time. You knew Courtland Sutton would certainly get plenty of attention, not just in the game plan, but that the defense would be looking, that maybe he's looking Courtland's way, and he gives Marvin Mims a chance. And Mims isn't the biggest guy in the world. He's probably this much bigger than me, and I'm 5'8" on my best day. But he goes up and makes a hell of a catch, is able to secure it, ruled a catch, ruled a touchdown. And so you want your quarterback to take those chances. But you talk about the interception. Sean said he needs to look at it. And then we heard Bo say that, hey, I was just trying to make something happen. I threw it in. There's too many shirts in there, and that's on me. And that's without even seeing the film. But when you look at what set that up with the forced fumble from Pat Surtain that he caused, they get the ball back, and you can go down and maybe win the game to force it there and then give them a chance and give them more life obviously hurts. And Bo's been so good protecting the football. Yes, he's had a couple of interceptions in recent weeks that he didn't have for so long during the middle of the season after starting a little rough like many rookies do. But ultimately, yeah, you're not going to go toe-to-toe with Joe Burrow, who, as I've said since we started doing the show, for most personnel people's money, they would take him second after Patrick Mahomes. I understand Lamar Jackson has a lot to say about that. He may get his third MVP, and we know that Josh Allen may get his first MVP, but Joe Burrow is playing as well as any of those guys. And when he wasn't getting sacked, he was just, finding the holes and making big time throws. A number of them, it seemed like, to Mike Gesicki to move the sticks. They were 7 of 13 on third down, but then Bo Nix did make enough plays with his legs and obviously made some of those throws. Yeah, 219 yards when you look at his compared to Joe Burrow throwing for over 400, it feels a little off. But I thought that all things considered, and where Joe is in his career and where Bo is in his career. And yeah, you can go back to, they played against each other in that championship season for LSU. And actually, I guess 2 years in a row, but it was 23-20. Auburn still came up on the short end. So Bo's already played against Joe Burrow before years ago, all the way back in 2017. But I think you've got to feel good about where his performance was. Just not, you don't feel great about it. I do like his chances next week, though, going toe to toe with Carson Wentz.
Yeah, we hope that that's the case, and hopefully they can get a dub or a tie. Really quickly before we let you go, 17-0 BYU for our CU Buffs that are in the Alamo Bowl right now. We've got it on our screens, and at halftime, we're going to wrap this show after we talk a little bit of Buffs once we're done with Broncos. Shedeur Sanders, not great. Last time they showed his stats, he was at like minus 28 rushing yards. He had been sacked 3 times, only 70 yards the last time that they showed us. Not a great performance for our Buffs so far. Have you been able to watch any of this game or keep up with it at all?
Yeah, I've been keeping up with it, and we were when we were sitting in the media room as it was getting started. Obviously, with the game going into overtime, we knew there was going to, and so everyone's talking about it, and we're kind of keeping an eye on it. And you talk about those 70 yards, well, 58 of them came on one play to Travis Hunter, and it's cool that those guys are playing. We've said that, and I talked with some of the personnel people here that go to all the college games and scout and are at the all-star games about them playing. It is, like we talked about yesterday, a different world. Shedeur has plenty of money. Travis Hunter has plenty of money. They wanted to finish out their season strong. I think the real question is, and we won't know this and they'll never really admit it, is what did their practices look like between the time they played Oklahoma State and now? We know they were obviously on the award circuit for a bit, and Juju Lewis is in, and guys are trying to figure out, are they staying? The transfer portal, guys are whatever it may be. So I don't know how dialed in they were, and I'm not making an excuse for BYU is going through probably some of the same stuff, not the award season, but BYU, as we saw where Jake Retzlaff said, this is the People's Big 12 Championship. BYU was really good all year and then stumbled. My Jayhawks got them. They had a couple tough games down the stretch, probably should have lost to Utah, and ultimately aren't in the Big 12 title game, aren't in the playoff. But BYU has something to prove, and Jake Retzlaff wants to go out there and show, hey, I may not be top quarterback coming out right now, but remember my name, because next year I might be one of these guys that's in your top 3-5 of the pro quarterback prospects. And so, look, we know it's a 4-quarter game. We saw that out here today with the Broncos. The game's not over at halftime, but you wonder how much is Shedeur going to play in the second half? How much will Travis Hunter play, or Jimmy Horn Jr., those guys? It is cool that they're playing. It's not cool that they aren't scoring. It seemed like Ralphie wasn't even that into the start of the game, as she was just kind of going through the motions on her initial run. But it's cool that they're playing. We know that it just is a nice way for them to cap their time in Boulder and what they've helped start to build for Dion, Coach Prime, and what the Buffs are building. But it is a bummer, obviously, that they're shut out to this point. So hopefully, if they stay in the game, or even if they're not playing much in the second half, the Buffs make it a game, because, yeah, these games don't count, but they still matter to the guys playing.
Of course.
Great stuff, BK. Real quick, though, before we let you go, what are you going to do now? Where are you going to go? What are you going to eat, BK? Are you going to stay there tonight? Are you going to go toss a few back? What does your night look like?
I have a 6 a.m. flight. I have yet to book a hotel room. There is a Hard Rock Casino nearby, but I don't really want to go there. So, but there's lots of hotels available. There's a bunch downtown, and there's a bunch across the river. The airport's 20 minutes away. My flight's at 6 a.m. though, so I haven't planned that far ahead. Some people were talking about getting together to watch the Buffs game and this other game, but they are all still kind of working. So I'm going to see what downtown Cincinnati has to offer. We were expecting a monsoon. Rain is coming around 10 or 11, but it's beautiful. I'm wearing my Guerilla Sports pullover, but I don't need to. I'm a little warm. It's like 60 degrees here, which is pretty surprising. So I don't think people confuse Cincinnati with Miami or Vegas or New York or LA or even Chicago as far as a hot Midwest city. But if there's something to do that's worth doing, I'm going to try to find, at least for a little bit, catch a couple hours of sleep, and then head back so I can be ready to hang with you guys on Monday for off field and off court as we look towards the Broncos and Chiefs regular season finale a week from tomorrow. What we think will be a week from tomorrow. They'll announce the schedule when they decide the 2 Saturday matchups and the Sunday night game, but the expectation is the Broncos will play in that normal 205, 225 window a week from tomorrow. That's the thinking around here.
Amazing. Well, BK, we miss you. Get home safely and soundly, and we will see you Monday for another episode of Off Field with us. So get home safe and go Broncos.
Thank you.
All right. So I think before we talk a little bit more about the Buffs, because it will be halftime in about 24 seconds, we'll spend a little bit of time talking about the Buffs, and then we'll get out of here ourselves. We do have the rest of Bo Nix talking after that game. So let's take a listen to what Bo Nix, and BYU now in field goal range just ahead of halftime here. So we'll have lots to discuss about all things CU Buffs, but for now, let's check out what Bo Nix has to say about that game versus the Bengals.
What's your emotions on the field regarding to kicking it or going?
Well, me, I have no decision making, so I'm, trying to go for twos. But, at the end of the day, that's probably not always the wisest decision. Glad I don't, make the decisions for our team, because I would go off straight emotion and what I want to do. But, they thought it out, they processed it, and, in that case, it was better to kick a field goal and play in overtime.
I mean, emotionally, tell me I'm wrong, the competitor in you wants to go for it.
Yeah, I definitely want the ball a chance to win the game, but we had a chance in overtime to do that, and I missed that one. So it's just it was a good decision by us. Kick the field goal, play for overtime. We had stopped them, enough to feel good about it, and we thought we could move the ball in overtime, but we didn't, and so they got the final drive there.
Well, someone mentioned first half time of possession was tilted their way, and the 3 and out after their long drive. From your perspective, what's happening there in the first half?
Well, they did a good job of playing keep away, and you're right, we didn't get the ball a whole lot, but fortunately in the second half that changed, and we were able to sustain long drives.
What was some of the tweaks Sean mentioned? You felt like you had to adjust it after.
Well, we got a few more first downs that were able to prolong drives. We were able to run the ball efficiently. Just kind of leaned on them and moved the ball well. A big third quarter drive there to tie it up at 10, and that's kind of what we needed.
Well, you probably spent a lot of time on it, but you just seemed to be off by just a little on the deep shot to Troy, especially on the left side. Is that frustrating because you've connected so many times, I'm sure, in practice, definitely in games in y'all's career, just not yet here?
Yeah, those 2 third downs at the end, you play the whole game, you get to these opportunities, and I got to hit those. That's what NFL quarterbacks do. So, I'm going to continue to work till I do hit those, and not put my team in that position. And I feel like I kind of let them down.
Time for a few more guys. After they clank the field goal late in overtime and you get the ball, what's the mindset? Is your mindset just eat up the clock and a tie and you make the playoffs, or what is your mindset on that drive, that series?
My mindset is, my job is to go out there and score points. So whatever the coach calls, it's my job to execute.
Well, I think
Last one, Brandon.
you were asked, you had 3 games to win 1. You said you won 3 games, but that's 1 to win 1. So I guess how do you like, the setup knowing that you guys win and you're in?
It's been like this for 2 weeks, so we just got to put everything in it to go win the game.
Thank you very much, Bill.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Woo! Sorry. That was a lot. I just got confirmed I'm a correct person, so that's all. I just
my
got a little
wife
excited.
was listening to the show and agrees with Liv on the butter talk. Butter should be left out so it can be spread, not kept in the freezer.
That's not what your wife was saying.
She said you were correct about that.
I think the analysis part that she probably agrees with the most is that you trying to be sly and sneaky here and be like, yeah, I leave it out so it's nice and soft for me. I actually think that's you just don't put it away.
No. I prefer it to be out.
I'm sure you do, but also
I put milk away. I put the other things away that need to be put away.
do you always?
Yes, I do.
Do you always close the cabinet all the way? Do you ladies and gentlemen? Woo! No, I get it. It does. It should be soft. You know that they make those things like where you have butter and it like sits over water
Yeah,
and
I'm
it
not
keeps.
into that.
Oh, so then you really don't like your butter soft then? Because if
I
you
don't want it
did,
sitting over water because the water makes things
you know,
bad.
I would love to know who died and made you a butter connoisseur.
Well, Mrs. Buttersworth, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that even real butter? That's what I've always wanted to
Mrs.
know.
Buttersworth, that's actually syrup. Mrs. Buttersworth. I don't know if you ever had it.
I'm an Aunt Jemima girl.
Mrs. Buttersworth. Yeah, they're friends, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They go way back.
Way back.
Anyway, it is halftime for the CU Buffs game. We just got to hear from Bo Nix. And, you know, Bo Nix for all season long really has said all the right things. He is a leader. I think the ceiling is very high. And even in moments like this, I think we should be very thankful that we have Bo Nix as a part of this franchise. Because I think the future's bright, would you say, for the Broncos?
Absolutely.
And the season's not over. I'm making it sound like we're mourning the death of a season.
But it feels like after a loss like that,
It
it's
does.
hard to take. And you saw it on Bo's face. You know, he's pretty disappointed, but he's also a competitor. He's been down this road before, losing games that mattered to him, and he knows how to step up and say the right things and then move on to the next game. Could you put that comment up, that second to last one, by whoever is the directing? Yeah. Nate, how does Bo's leadership style compare to Cutler's rookie year?
That's a great question.
Yeah, couldn't be more different. Couldn't be more different.
I was like hoping you'd be like, yeah, they're pretty similar.
No, they're not.
They're opposite. I love it.
Because Jay didn't give that kind of of himself. He didn't stand up there and give thoughtful answers. He would be like, next question. I didn't want to.
So he was more like Sean Payton than
I didn't feel like it. Like whatever. Like you look down, hat low. He wouldn't look you in the eyes. And as far as, you know, I'm talking, then that's at the podium. But with his team, Bo Nix is one of the guys. He sees himself as a football player, and he wants the respect of the guys because he wants to earn it. Jay didn't really feel that way. Jay felt like he had already earned it because he was drafted 10 overall, and he was, you know, the quarterback, so everybody should think he's cool. That's not really how football teams work. It might look that way in the media as fans. Oh, the quarterback's such a cool everyone. No, if you're cool, they like you. If you're not, they don't. And if you're not, the team doesn't get brought together in ways that it could if you were a good dude. I'm not saying Jay's not a good dude, but his personality didn't bring people together. Jay was not the type of guy who would walk around the locker room and talk to everyone. You know, I think you saw a couple weeks ago when Bo threw another interception, a bad one, his defensive players came up to him and said, "We got you. We're going to take care of it."
You did. That was very noticeable.
And then they turned around and did. I never really saw that type of energy on the teams that I was on between Jay and the defense. In fact, when, you know, a bad thing would happen, the Jay, you know, if the defense gave up a big play, Jay would be like, "Come on, dude, like whatever, bro. Why aren't you guys doing that, man?" Like, instead of being like, "All right, guys, like I'm going to pick you guys up now. We're going to go make a play."
Have you ever thought about being like a voice actor or like just maybe getting into theater?
Yeah, I've thought about it, but, you know, ultimately
It's never too late.
didn't do anything about it, Lev. Here I am.
He actually was an NFL player instead.
45
Very
years
different.
old.
But would you say, because you have played this game before, would you say that you prefer the type of leader that wants to be one of the boys?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Do you think
and
maybe
you don't have to be someone you're not?
Of
but
course.
you do have to sometimes step out of your comfort zone a little bit.
Okay.
And present, you know, and try to relate to the guys who are laying it on the line for you.
When you act like you're above them,
yeah,
they kind of want to just maybe punch you in the face.
Yes.
Do you think maybe, and again, we don't know the locker room over there, but you talk about being a high draft pick kind of maybe gives you that energy about yourself where you just feel entitled to act however. Do you think maybe that could be part of the problem in Chicago?
Oh yeah.
Because Caleb Williams was the type, let me remind you, that wrote F whoever his opponent was. He's always done things that are kind of like, really? Is that necessary?
And he thought he was just going to come in and take the league by storm. Didn't really think it was going to be as difficult as
I think
it
we
is.
might have seen that as well with Baker Mayfield when he was initially drafted. I think there is an element of the more humble these quarterbacks enter the league, the more successful they may tend to be.
And in some regards, not being the first quarterback taken makes you more humble. Bo was the 6th quarterback taken.
Yeah.
The 6th. Yeah. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And a lot of people said he was overdrafted by the Broncos. Shouldn't even have been drafted as high as he was. Should have been a 2nd or 3rd round pick. So, you know, Bo, and aside from that, I don't think Bo listens to a lot of the noise. What I think Bo does understand about football, I caught it.
You did.
What I think Bo does understand is that you got to earn the respect of your teammates. You come in as a rookie, no one's giving you shit. And he has talked about that as much. Like I haven't done anything yet. I can't say anything to these guys. He was asked a question a couple weeks ago about when the defense was struggling. Did he go up there and tell them, "Come on, guys"? And he's like, "Well, I can encourage him, but I'm not. Who am I to say, come on, when I'm playing like shit over here?"
I love that he knows that.
Yeah, like I threw 3
time.
interceptions. I'm not saying, "Come on, guys, you got to be better." I got to be better. I
like that.
And on that answer right there, he talked about how he feels like he let his teammates down today because he missed that throw you were talking about to Troy.
Mm-hmm.
He knows he should have hit that throw. That's not on Troy. That's on Bo.
Him and Troy just cannot figure it out.
No.
They cannot figure it out. But again,
what you like is that Troy got behind the defenders and was open by 3 steps.
Totally.
On a deep ball.
There is a lot of promise there between Troy and Bo on this professional level in the NFL. We've seen them do it before.
Yeah.
Now it's just making it work in the NFL. And I think there's a lot of promise there. And I think that it can get there at some point. It just didn't happen this year. Really quick before we move on to all things CU Buffs before we get out of here. Jesse, who is helping produce, says, my wife and I are the opposite. She likes to leave the butter out on the counter. I put it in the fridge. So, Jesse, you know what you're talking about.
So, Jesse, you're a loser.
No, Jesse's got the right idea.
How do you spread it? How do you put it on a pancake, Liam? How do you put it on some toast?
How
do you put it on a roll?
Well, if your pancake is not hot enough,
What about a roll at Thanksgiving
hold on.
dinner?
This is how I'm going to just get him right here, and he's not going to know what the freak to say. When you were young and you watched, and maybe a picture book, when they showed you the stack of pancakes, was the butter melted and spread out like this, or was it in a nice little cute on the top? Was it not in a square on the top? And then when the pancake is hot enough or the hot syrup gets poured, then the butter is that not how?
No, I'm buttering each and every pancake, picking up the pancake, spreading the butter around evenly on each one of them.
And when your kids are saying, Dad, we're hungry, and you're like, hold on, I'm gonna paint my pancakes.
Hold on an hour while the butter melts.
For God's sake. It doesn't take an hour if your pancakes are hot enough, Nate.
There's also this.
Here we go.
If you're talking about picture books and cartoons and shit, do you remember the cereal commercials?
Yes.
They bite down on the spoon. You're going to break your teeth if you bite down on the spoon like that.
Well, that was for dramatic effect.
Have you ever had a stack of 50 flapjacks like they do in those?
Don't tempt me.
Picture books?
Because I'll do it. I'll do it tonight for dinner. I sure will. No, butter should be in the fridge. That's the fact of the matter. And that's it.
Until you need it. And then you pull it out and you eat it.
And then you leave it out because
you leave it out. You can leave it out for a couple days. Yes. Yes, you can.
Anyway. Okay. I will not be asking him for butter advice ever again because we can't see eye to eye on the whole butter debate here, but your wife knows what's up.
You better believe it.
Butter believe. Yeah. Butter believe. Your wife knows what's up. But
we'll talk about CU for a second because
they're pooping down their leg, huh?
Yeah, and so if you're Coach Prime at halftime, there's a lot going on here psychologically because Coach Prime is someone who, like, when everyone's zigging, he wants to zag, right? He's not going to do what you tell him to do. And everyone's right now is saying, pull him out of the game. Mm-hmm. Pull Shedeur out of the game.
Do you think he'll keep him?
I do. Because he's not going to do what they they're telling him, Dad, Coach, don't pull me. We gotta find a way to come back and win this game.
We gotta be superheroes.
We gotta win this game.
Well, I hate to say this, but under Coach Prime, when the Buffs are down by 17 plus points at halftime, 17 or more at halftime, they are 0-4.
Well, I mean, I would imagine most coaches are, right? That's a really tough kind of.
But to your point, if you know that as Coach Prime,
we're never out of it. We're never out of it. You gotta believe.
Do you think Coach Prime has a similar ego to Sean Payton?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but it's a little bit different application because
they're very different.
Yeah, Sean Payton's more the study X's and O's, like scheme, like this one right answer for this. Coach Prime doesn't play that. He's not the X's and O's guy.
Right.
He's the big picture. You got to believe in yourself. You got to believe that anything is possible. And if you do, then it is. And I appreciate both styles of leadership.
Of course.
You know, because the standard of excellence is incredibly high
for
both of those men. And they expect nothing less than the best. But this game,
it's out of control a little bit.
It is a little bit. And
20-0.
Not just the score, but BYU looks hungrier. They look fresher. They look faster, and they look like they want to prove a point. And the CU doesn't look like they're trying to prove any point. It looks like they're just trying to get out of here.
Well, you know, to your point, when we began talking about the Buffs on this show, you made mention of every storyline all week. You haven't heard about BYU hardly at all from a media perspective, and they're the better football team when you look at the record and how they were in the Big 12 this season, they're the better football team.
Yeah.
So it is probably frustrating to be these players and feel like you don't get enough respect or attention for what you've done all season long. And here comes Coach Prime and his theatrical team that are demanding attention, and of course, Travis Hunter winning the Heisman just last week. That is obviously going to bring some attention. We do have an update here as well. Miami, Ohio defeats the CSU Rams 43-17 in the Snoop Dogg Gin and Juice Bowl. What a bowl game there for many
down the
reasons.
street, playing football, sipping on gin and juice, laid back with my mind on my money and my money on my mind.
That's it right there. And also my TCU Horned Frogs put on a little whooping against Louisiana.
Okay. Well, at least someone won because CSU lost, Broncos lost, CU looks like they're about to lose.
So shout out to my Horned Frogs. How about that?
Yeah, how about?
I actually don't know what the end score was, but I know that when I looked, it was like 34-0. Like they were pretty much.
What the hell's a horned frog anyway?
Well, that's actually a horned lizard.
Okay, so it's not a frog at all.
And it doesn't matter. Semantics. Did you know when a horned frog feels threatened, like their life is in danger, they spit blood out of their eyes?
So
Poisonous blood.
That's weird. Really? Poisonous blood out of their eyes.
Out of their eyeballs.
What a trick.
Yeah.
What a party trick.
It's a very cool party trick. I would love to have that party trick.
I can open a bottle with my eye.
What?
Yeah. I can
You
open
cannot.
If you have a beer bottle right here, I can do it.
A beer bottle with your eyeball.
That's right.
I don't really think that's smart.
Carrie, you got one? We'll see. That'd be a good way to end the show, wouldn't it?
Yeah, with your eyeball rolling on the table.
Huh. No.
I will never come back to the studio again. If his eyeball pops out live on air, I'm telling you right now, this is the last Live Mood show you'll see in this studio. Everything will be virtual from home.
I'll be spitting blood out of my eye too.
He'll turn into a horned frog right here on the live show.
I'm trying to do it.
I do think I agree with you in the sense that I do think Coach Prime will prove a point. Keep them.
No, water doesn't work. It needs to be a bottle. Nah. Next time.
Well, I'll have to break. Thank God. Actually, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with you not having one. We'll do it. Yeah, another
Next
time
week,
when I am absent. How about that?
Yeah.
But I do agree with you. I do think that they will play. They will keep playing to try to be. I also don't know if Shedeur Sanders is very satisfied with his performance right now.
No, he can't be.
And I think he knows all eyes on him. That's what they've wanted all season long is all eyes on him, all eyes on Travis Hunter, all eyes on Coach Prime. And so do you want this to be your last impression?
Yeah.
Do you want this? Again, I don't agree with bowl games being held over these athletes' heads because a lot of these athletes opt out of playing in these bowl games. So I don't agree with it being what makes or breaks his, future chances in the NFL or whatever that process looks like. But I don't think he wants to go out this way.
No.
So he's going to want to come back out after halftime and start throwing some darts to Hunter and find a way to just at least climb back a little bit.
Yeah,
being shut out's not great.
No, when you're getting, harassed back there in the pocket that much and you're trying to buy time and you're doing some silly stuff, they kind of steers away from what you've been taught and what you're hoping to show because the NFL, they don't play that game. And you've seen when Bo is trying to buy time by running backwards, it doesn't end well because these defensive players are just so fast and so hungry in the NFL and they cover ground so quickly. You're not going to be able to do that stuff. And so it's not a good look for Shedeur to be running around like that. I mean, you look at what Joe Burrow did today. Very crisp. Everything's on time. 3 steps and it's out.
He's good.
That's how NFL offenses are supposed to run efficiently on time, not trying to buy extra time like that and do anything to put your team in a bind, which Shedeur has done today. So I think ultimately what he's probably doing in the locker room is lobbying for his coach, his dad, not take him out. Don't take me out, Dad. I got to finish this thing the right way. The danger is when a team has you on the ropes like BYU does, then you start getting desperate and then you can get out of pocket and be in a position to get injured. And that's what we don't want with either of these guys or anybody on the field, really.
Yeah, I think when you've made it this far in the season with a healthy body and if you're planning to go to the next level of football, you don't want to injure yourself. So I could really see it going both ways. But I think based on what we know about Coach Prime and Shedeur and Travis Hunter, Shedeur, I loved his response to why he's playing. He's like, I have a team full of guys that I want to play with one more time, and this is his final game with his dad as his coach. So there's a lot of different emotions, I think, playing into this one. And I don't think, I think that this is just a unique team and a unique situation and everything that they do is different. So whatever you think they're going to do, maybe do the they're probably going to do the opposite, as Nate said. So, okay. Buffs, hopefully making a comeback in the second half. Broncos could not find a way. CSU could not find a way. And the Nuggets, I know this is a football show right now, but the Nuggets are playing the Detroit Pistons tonight at home, currently down by 2. I won't even waste your time with my rant on that. Hopefully they find a way, but we know they start slow in these games. So hopefully Denver sports can figure it out from a Nuggets perspective, because we know the Broncos fell short. But next week, Broncos against the Chiefs at home to end the regular season. And we will obviously have you covered all week long on off-field coverage, and we'll break down the game a little bit more in depth, and we'll look at the playoff implications and the playoff picture as a whole, and maybe talk some season awards, who's in the lead. Nate, before we get out of here, who do you right now think should win MVP?
In the NFL?
Yep.
Wow. Can I look up some stats real quick?
Go for it.
I mean,
I have my answer.
Might as well. I mean, look, I think you say Lamar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I would say Lamar.
I think that probably right now it's not Lamar. I think right now it's what's his nuts, Josh Allen.
What's his nuts?
Although he's not statistically having that great of a
Lamar
season.
statistically is better in every category.
Yeah,
that's why I'm like,
yeah.
If you're a numbers guy, that feels like it's a pretty.
What about Jared Goff? He's having a pretty darn good year.
He is. He absolutely is. Yeah.
Yeah. 33 touchdowns, only 10 picks there.
And
Lamar's only got 4 interceptions and 39 touchdowns. Wow. And he's running the rock too. I say Lamar.
I'm telling you. And I think there's this little weird voter fatigue where people just don't want to see him win it again. But he's actually having a better season this year than he did last year when he won it. And statistically, he is better than Josh Allen in almost every category.
Except wins, though. The Bills are
okay. And that was going to be my question is,
Josh Allen, yeah.
It's not by much. And so it's like, if that's how we give the MVP award.
Well, I mean, it has to factor in because Joe Burrow's kind of not in the picture right now.
Of course.
Because they're 8-8. Now,
I just think the Bills and the Ravens
are so close.
What if
the Bengals make the playoffs? Joe Burrow could win it.
If the Bengals had a better record, the MVP would be Joe Burrow's without a question, in my opinion.
Yeah, he was already, he was already 130 yards ahead of, actually, yeah. He's 130 yards ahead of Jared Goff going into this week, and he just put up 400 yards. He's going to be, he's going to maybe throw for 5,000 yards. If he throws for, 300 next week, he's going to throw for 5,000 yards. And he's got 39 touchdowns. That was before today. How many did he have today? 3? 3. So he's got 42 touchdowns, 8 picks, and 4,600 yards.
Was Gesicki one of the touchdowns?
No.
Good.
I don't think so. Was he?
Why did you point out his weird behaviors? Because now I don't like him.
He does all these like.
Did you?
That's what he does. Gesicki.
Never seen that before. That's a new one.
That's what he does.
Was that your attempt at the gritty sitting down?
But he does like a silly gritty, and he doesn't do it right, but he thinks he's funny when he does it.
Is he liked amongst do people like him?
He's new on the Bengals. He got traded in the middle of the season.
Right, from the Dolphins, you said.
So. Is he really like that much? I mean,
and if he's catching footballs,
no, he just caught 10 passes. Yeah, he had a pretty important role in today's victory for the Bengals. So
he did.
Props to him for that. First game, I've been severely disappointed in Sean. Just horrendous play calling.
Okay.
Especially in overtime.
I do think overtime was tough. It was tough.
Yeah.
I mean, what was it? Overtime yardage, 116-9 or 119-6, I think it was.
2 3-and-outs. Yeah. 3 plays, 3 yards, 3 plays, 3 yards.
I mean, what are we doing at that point?
What are we doing, Sean?
What are we doing?
Hey.
Get it together relative to
your play calling. Look, someone give me some chapstick.
Oh my God, get that man some Aquaphor. Seriously. I mean, and the licking of the lips, he's gonna hurt himself.
He's got very chapped lips. When it's like he's got.
Do you see it in person?
Yeah. But also the camera, when it gets close, he's got some chapped lips.
Well, in all fairness, it is very dry in Colorado. So
they're not in freaking Colorado. They're in Ohio.
I know, but his body, he can't snap back like that. I think he's got to get familiar with how much water you got to drink here and the Aquaphor application and all that.
He needs to rub some warm butter on his lips. That's what he does. Just
head over to Nate's house. He's got it probably sitting on the counter, and you could just
Yeah.
Lather it up, Shawnee boy.
That's right.
There it is. Okay, well, this has been a little special edition off field because the Broncos played on a Saturday this week, and we also had the Buffs in the Alamo Bowl. They are down 20-0 to BYU at halftime, but looks like this game should be back in motion. Hopefully, we're seeing Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter back out there again, and they're not sitting because I think they would rather end on a better note than what we've seen so far. Not a great game for either of them tonight. Just in case you were wondering, tonight, Shedeur Sanders, 7 of 10. 70 passing yards, 0 touchdowns so far. And Travis Hunter, only 2 receptions for 60 yards, 0 touchdowns. So this is not their best game. I would imagine we see them in the second half so that they can get some redemption going. Any final thoughts from you, Nate?
Yeah, just a disappointing loss from the Broncos to a really good team, the Bengals, who kind of had them on the ropes. And the Broncos were able to pull something out, pull a rabbit out of the hat and put themselves in position to win. And when that happens, you just hope that you can find a way to get it done. And they just weren't. They let some opportunities slip there in overtime. They couldn't benefit. They couldn't capitalize on, Dorkbox missing the kick. And so these are moments as a football team, you have to pounce on the other team when they make mistakes like that. And a more experienced team will be able to do that. The Broncos are not there yet. Simply, they're not there yet. Are they going to be Super Bowl bound this year? Probably not. But they're building something special towards the future. Yes. The fact that they're in this position can clinch a playoff spot with a win at home on Sunday against the Chiefs is a good spot to be in. You just hope they can bounce back from these 2 difficult losses and do that on Sunday.
Fingers crossed. We'll have some more off-field episodes for you Monday, Wednesday, Friday this coming week. And then, of course, we'll keep you posted on all things post-game following that Broncos-Chiefs game on Sunday. So we will see you before the new year. So I'm not going to say see you next year, but I will say that probably Monday. So be prepared for the dad joke there. And we'll catch you guys on Monday, 11 a.m. Mountain Time for another episode of Off Field. I'm Liv Moods. That's Nate Jackson. And we'll see you very soon. Bye.
Bye.